Good to go? All right, Paul, you ready? Call to order. Excuse me, everyone. The time is now 7:03 p.m. I will call this meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's Town Council meeting is being streamed live via YouTube. Please go to the Town of Bridgewater Facebook page for the link. We do not have any condolences from our veterans agent tonight, but please join me in a moment of silence for all of our veterans who have passed and for all of their families. Thank you. So for the folks in the audience, we do have an executive session that we need to take out of order here, and we'll be back here shortly. So I would entertain a motion to take Q executive session out of order.
So moved.
Motion and a second, thank you. And we will have to do a roll call vote on this one. I will entertain a motion to move into executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Bridgewater Firefighters Union, Bridgewater Police Association, and non-union employee town manager. So this will be a roll call vote.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
And Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed.
All right, folks, so we'll move into executive session, and we'll be back here shortly. All right, thank you all for your patience. Time is now 7:29. I'll call this meeting back to order. We will begin with approval of minutes from previous meetings, which we have, wait,
No meeting
no,
minutes.
we don't have any. Just kidding. All right, so we'll skip to announcements from the president. So you're now able to register for mail-in voting with the town clerk. If you didn't do that yet, you'll have to do that for this year. If you did it for last year, you'll have to do that again for this year. That's available. If you go downstairs for those who are here, you can just scan the QR code at the front desk, at the front door of the town clerk's office, and you could go ahead and register. The election is on April 25th. There will be early voting here at Town Hall. That exact date I will clarify at our next meeting. We do have our budget that's going to be proposed at our first meeting in April. And then we will also have additional meetings with the Budget and Finance Committee, and hopefully some joint meetings with our Finance Committee, and then maybe even some special meetings here at the Council. I want there to be a lot of input from the public, where we could hopefully do some public hearings and get some inputs from the public as to what the priorities of this town are, because we are under constrained times at this moment. So that being said, we also have a joint meeting tomorrow with the school district, school committee, finance committee, and the folks from Rainham as well. And we encourage anybody to attend. That's going to be tomorrow night at the high school. I think it starts at 6 p.m. We're going to be going over specifically the independent financial review that Clifton Larson Allen did for the school district. So if anybody that's interested in that, you are more than welcome to attend. There are a lot of folks that came out to our meeting last week, and we thank you for that. We hear you, and I did put out a rough draft of a document that answers a lot of questions which were asked, not all of them, and we're going to continue to update that. I may even collaborate with our town manager, who is going to do something similarly. If I did a good enough job on mine, maybe we'll just kind of roll with this, and we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to thank you all for your questions and for your input. It is moving the needle, and we are taking all of your comments seriously. We do have some new legislation tonight that's going to address a lot of the water capacity issues and building approvals, which have been in the works for months now, and we are finally able to propose those. On the water conversation, I did have a meeting today with Mr. Lincoln Andrews, who I've been in constant contact with over the last few months. I know that a lot of residents are wondering where that situation is, and those conversations are ongoing. And we look forward to seeing where that progresses, to see if there's some mutual benefit there. So that being said, we'll move on to citizen open forum. Due to Massachusetts open meeting law requirements, discussions will not take place during public comment periods. If appropriate, responses to questions and concerns will be given out by the town manager at a future town council meeting. Anybody may come up at this time and speak for up to 3 minutes. Please just state your name and address for the record.
It's not, push the button.
Got it, sorry. Laureen Powers, 41 Sunrise Drive. I am here presenting to the members of the Town Council tonight. I am requesting your support, once again, for the raising of the Pride flag in honor of Pride Month from June 1st to June 15th. Since 2016, Bridgewater Communities for Civil Rights has worked alongside the town of Bridgewater to foster a community rooted in equal rights, inclusion, and mutual respect. Since 2021, the Town Council has affirmed these values by issuing annual resolutions declaring Bridgewater a welcoming community where all individuals, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender identity, can live free from hatred, harassment, and violence. For 5 consecutive years, the elected leaders of our town have further demonstrated their commitment by voting to raise the Pride flag. The ceremony has been a visible, meaningful affirmation of support, drawing community members, families, and allies together in support. As we approach Pride Month 2026, we respectfully request that the leaders of our town issue a resolution in honor of Pride Month to reaffirm Bridgewater's commitment to inclusion and equality, support the raising of the Pride flag on Monday, June 1st at 3:30 p.m., with the flag remaining in place until June 15th, and attend a brief ceremony at the time of the flag raising. We invite you to read the Town Council's resolution at that time and celebrate the beginning of Pride Month with us, continuing this important tradition and standing in solidarity with all residents of Bridgewater. Bridgewater has demonstrated its commitment to being a welcoming and inclusive community for all, including our LGBTQ+ friends, family members, and neighbors. At a time when hateful rhetoric is rising nationwide, our town's visible and consistent support sends a powerful message about who we are and what we stand for. It is important that Bridgewater continue to lead with the same spirit of safety, acceptance, and unwavering support that has become part of our community identity. We appreciate your leadership, look forward to your positive response. Respectfully submitted, Chris Ajemian, Janice Campbell-Means, Kayla DeFino, David Michael, myself, and Sam Baumgarten. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for you.
No worries. They're good.
Thank you. Good evening, Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. I seek clarification of a non-approved project means. I know water cannot be denied for those projects approved before a water emergency, AKA pre-approved, but it has been said and written that non-approved projects cannot get hooked up. If I'm not mistaken, non-approved would mean they're not able to hook up anyways until they're approved. Are they not approved because they need water? What are they not approved for? How long will this last? Until water emergency is lifted? Until water situation is 100% resolved for a long period of time? I asked this question last week. In a nutshell, do we have enough water to support or supply current residents and businesses in those pre-approved projects if they were hooked up today or even 18 months from now? That needs to be answered tonight. A question was asked last week, was the High Street plant designed properly? I read an answer that it was designed based on conditions and regulatory requirements at that time. Wells A and B have apparently changed. The new plant can't take care of them. This is a perfect example of those making the decisions to think of the future, not just now. Cannot assume everything will remain the same. Wells A and B are not new. The plant should have been designed to plan for possible issues and changes. Hopefully the trailers for those wells will be for not only now, but for the future to grow with the town. Same with the Vernon Street wells. We cannot cut corners unless we'll be facing the same situation in the future, which will cost more money than we did it correctly to begin with. And why is the water brown on the east side? What's being done to resolve that? I personally have not heard any definite answers on that. Thankfully, I don't have that issue on the west side. Library, why is it closing on Saturdays? Is it staff issues or money issues? Why haven't we heard about these issues ahead of time? It doesn't make sense to close Saturday. If we have to cut hours, why not do it on Friday instead? IT website, I've asked about this issue several times, especially not being able to receive notifications of meetings. I haven't received any answer or results yet. What is being done about this issue and others? Charter changes. I say no to stipends. I feel if a town councilor candidate needs to be enticed or encouraged to serve, they shouldn't be a councilor. I was reading the reasons on page 19 of why he's saying it would attract skilled and experienced professionals. I think that's kind of insulting to all of you that are still here. I don't know who's professional or not, but it shouldn't matter. And it would increase diversity. Without a stipend, only those existing wealth or flexible, high-paying jobs can afford to run for the office. Are you all wealthy? I don't know. And improve accountability and performance to higher standards for responsiveness and attendance. I don't think anywhere in the ordinance does it say anything what to do if you don't attend and have good, I don't think, it's just a no. And form-based code changes. We definitely need it to be changed and give the power back to the planning board and get rid of the CED power. It should never have been approved. The planning board needs to be in control along with the other committees, not the CED. And lastly, for the CR resolution RFY 26008, definitely support this. CERC work needs to be acknowledged and worked on in a timely manner by the town council. Not 6 years later when the next CERC is being formed, and that's what's happening now. You're working on it to put it out finally on the ballot, and a committee is being in the process to be formed for review again. So hopefully a resolution, and it'd probably be good to make it an order too. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Steph D'Amelia, Harvest Lane. I just have a few questions. Since we're roughly 6 weeks away, give or take, from being disconnected from water in Middleborough and in need of filtration trailers, do we have a cost difference between filters that do filter PFAS and compared to the ones that don't? Whether we're going to rent them monthly or purchase them? During the Apex presentation at the last meeting, I was able to at least grasp on to some info given that stated the temporary trailers would now be a permanent solution. I question how a temp trailer could suddenly become the cure and become a permanent solution. Regardless if the equipment is taken out of a trailer and put on a cement pad with some kind of a pavilion to cover it. I just don't know how exactly how a temp trailer becomes a permanent solution just because it's put on a pad with a roof over it. Does anyone know of any other community, either in Massachusetts or New England or anywhere, that has temp trailers or filtered mounted components under a gazebo as their main source of well filtration, including the removal of PFAS? Or is Bridgewater the first to be on the cutting edge of filtration technology? I just don't understand what's the sense of having a filtration facility if trailers can do the work? I think we should put trailers everywhere, and we'll be the first in the state to come up with this, new process. If we do use trailers, has anyone researched maintenance costs for trailers that do remove PFAS compared to trailers that don't? Or if you want to call them temp trailer pads over a gazebo, however you want to call them, but is there a cost associated with maintaining these? And how often do they need to be rehabbed or rebuilt? And what is the expected life of a temp or permanent gazebo pad, trailer, whatever you, lifespan of one of those particular solution trailers or pads?
Thank you. We'll get some answers to those questions, hopefully during our water update, and at least in part.
Mark Thomas, 50 Aberdeen Lane. I'm also a member of the Finance Committee and Chairman of Park and Rec here in town. And I just kind of want to touch on the potential. I know you didn't necessarily put it here, but you guys have to vote on whether or not to put potential stipends on the ballot tonight. I know at the last meeting, my colleague MJ conveyed Finance Committee and my own personal feelings, how we felt towards stipends at this time. There's no argument that can be made to me that would think this would be the time to put that on the ballot. Typically, I stick just to Park and Rec and stay out of most things, but this one really bothered me to the point that, you guys take these positions as volunteer positions. That's what you do, because your time is no more valuable than the time Gina Casconi, MJ Spagone, Carlton Hunt, myself put into Bridgewater. We're volunteers. We're taking our time away from our lives and our families to help lead this town. I'm also I'm very embedded in youth sports in this town, and I have my pulse on how a lot of people feel. And most people agree with me as far as now is not the time. If we were in a town where we didn't have major problems like we do and we had we had a surplus, then perhaps then we could have that conversation. But I know a lot of people are not in support of those. I certainly am not in support of it, and I feel most of you are not either. But this is something that if this moves to the ballot, I am motivated to, with me being so involved in youth sports, that probably can control 500 to 800 votes in this town across every voting district. So this is something I don't even want to see get to the ballot. And I hope you guys make the right choice tonight, because I would hate to spend the next 3 years seeing somebody else in those seats and me having to put the effort to replace everybody that's up here. So I'm not trying to be too rude, to lack of a better word. I'm just very serious about this matter. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Oliari, 10 Stony Brook Drive. I'm here in my capacity as the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Public Library. I do know it's come to the attention that we've unfortunately had to close the library on Saturdays, and I know Director Phillips is here to talk about that tonight. On behalf of the board, I just wanted to state publicly that the board is completely behind the director in this decision. We have known for months that this was coming. Unfortunately, we did lose a position within this fiscal year with a staff member that took a job somewhere else, and we did not have the assets to fill that job. And we currently have someone out on maternity leave, and we knew the maternity leave was coming. It is something that I know the director has looked for the possibility for funds so we could get a temporary person, but we also understand that with the situation the town is in, with the situation all the departments of the town are in, unfortunately, money is incredibly tight, and the money wasn't available. That left us, as a board, talking with the director to pick the least objectionable option, unfortunately, amongst options that were not good. The library does need to have at least 2 people staffing it, strictly for the safety of the patrons and the people working, and 2 is incredibly low. Really, we should be at 3+. We're running as low as we possibly can. The director will speak more as to why Saturday was picked, but the unfortunate realization is to be down 20% of the staff until we can get that position back, and that staff member is back from maternity leave, well-deserved maternity leave, that we simply don't have the hours to safely operate the library at a greater capacity. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that wasn't decided in a vacuum. It was something the board has known about for months and is very fully in the director's corner with, and he has our full support in that. So thank you very much.
Mr. President, Council, Town Manager, Timothy Trocchio, 16 Cassidy Place. On March 3rd, 2026, the Bridgewater Public Library adjusted its operating hours. The notification states that the library is closed on Saturdays until further notice due to insufficient staffing starting on March 14th. In March of 1881, the town voted to, quote, to proceed at once to construct a building for the purpose of commemorating our citizens in times of national peril and providing a suitable hall for the library and for such objects of history or scientific interest as may come into possession of the town. The Bridgewater Public Library, a member of the Sales Library Network, provides access to collections of around 70 area libraries. It houses historical Bridgewater collections, including photographs, manuscripts, books, artifacts, and offers programs for residents of all ages. As a vital community center, the library has continued to provide excellent service while maintaining the delicate balance of preserving its rich history and embracing new technologies of the future. That is directly pulled from our town's library site. I was in the library the other day. Did you know the library has a 3D printer? And you can rent things other than books in the library, such as baking supplies, as well as you can also rent study materials to prepare for military service, such as ASVAB study books. Study materials for college entry, such as the SATs, and even study materials to enter law school, such as LSAT study books. So the issue before us is whether the closing of the library is depriving our citizens of their rights to access free and open ideas. Section 12, subsection B of the town charter states, the Bridgewater Public Library operates pursuant to Mass General Law, Section 78, and Article 3 of the Town Charter, is charged with ensuring that the members of the Bridgewater community have the right and means to free and open access to information and ideas. The library protects intellectual freedom, promotes literacy, and encourages lifelong learning. That's directly cited from our town charter. Here, our own town library is closed until further notice on Saturdays. Based on these aforementioned facts, the closure is depriving the rights of the Bridgewater community and means of accessing free and open information and ideas because of the limited time at which citizens in our community can access it. Many working citizens in Bridgewater work 9-to-5 jobs, often juggling parenting, commuting, and other responsibilities of life. Most working-class people have limited resources and times as is. The library closure on Saturdays deprives citizens and their families the opportunity to learn and utilize an important resource our town offers. We must not conflict with what our charter states. Any limitation to access to the library is something I ask this council to reconsider. The library is an important resource that anyone can access. Therefore, I implore this town council and the town manager to find a way to reopen the library on Saturdays, even if it's for a shorter duration than it was originally scheduled for. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak?
My name is David Moore, 54 Flag Street in Bridgewater. The legislation that's coming up under new business on water, examination of water needs for a project. I haven't seen the wording of the legislation yet, but I'm told that they use a word like a major project. Well, I would defer to the building code to remove any ambiguity for major projects. The building code considers any residential dwelling with 3 or more units as a commercial unit. So, and because they have to be sprinkled and they're scrutinized with a different level of inspections. So I would ask that the council or the authors of this legislation work closely with the building inspector, so, you know, make the building code the bad guy and eliminate any ambiguity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. We are going to hopefully refer that to the planning board and get some comments from our building inspector and have those terms clearly defined, so thank you for that. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Okay, thank you very much. As most of you know, there is another comment period at the end, if you'd like to come up at the end as well. We will now move into license transactions. We have first up petition P 2026-019, granting of a common victular license at 27 Perkins Street. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. Okay, so this was now before us. The owner had submitted this paperwork before us now, and our counselors here have had a chance to renew it. I'll ask our town manager for any pertinent updates on this.
These are pretty common victual and amusement licenses for these for this business. I do want to take a quick minute to just recognize the council clerk, Deb. She was really proactive about this. The business had omitted, coming in for this application, and she worked collaboratively with them to make sure that they applied for the licenses they needed. So I want to thank her for that work. But it does meet all of the requirements and fees associated with it. So no problems on the town side.
Great, thank you. So that being said, I would entertain a motion for approval and second for discussion.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one, counselors? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote, please. Oh, you have it in here as roll call. Oh, because Mary's not on Zoom. Okay, so sorry about that. All those in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, this is for the same business, but this is for the granting of an automatic amusement license. I'll ask our town manager if there's anything else to add to this one.
Same thing here. No issues on the town side.
All right, great. And entertain a motion for approval.
Motion
second for
to
discussion. Motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are now moving on to presentations. I believe we have Mr. Moore coming up here for the Historical Commission presentation.
Again, David Moore, Chairman of the Historical Commission, 54 Flag Street. I'm not going to get into the long definition of the mission of the Historical Commission. Basically, we're out there to preserve Bridgewater history. We're not the people who go around beating a drum to purchase old houses and things like that. But the Historical Commission is more interested in the small things that often get swept by the wayside. I heard tonight in reference to the function of the library as preserving Bridgewater history. Many people don't realize that the Bridgewater history, you go in that building and there's 3 wings. One wing was dedicated as a museum to Bridgewater artifacts. And unfortunately, as the library expanded over the years, there was a room for that museum, so that museum was lost. And unfortunately, all of the artifacts that were in that museum were lost. And that must have been one hell. I had seen a list of the collection, some really interesting stuff from the late 1700s, early 1800s. Unfortunately, were lost. So it's through the Historical Commission that we advocate the preservation of little bits and pieces of Bridgewater history. With that, we've been asking for the elevation of the status of the Historical Commission from just an advisory board to administrative board so that we can get a seat at the table. We're not necessarily looking for a vote, but we're just looking for notification when things come up of historical interest with the town. Take, for example, the recent rebuilding of the Memorial Building. That went on in planning for almost 2 years before we were able to get a seat on that committee. And the original proposal was very objectionable to many people, and we finally got that straightened out, and we have a very nice building over there today. So it's things like that that the Historical Commission is trying to be part of. Another problem we have in town is, it was brought up, the lack of hours at the library. Over the last 5 years, I'm sure Judd will mention it, we've had a couple excellent archivists, and they've done a tremendous job up in the historical room. Unfortunately, we have no archivist right now. She moved on to the East Bridgewater Public Library, and the position was not able to be refunded to refill a person in that status. What this happens is people want to give things to the library. The library's been very good as far as accepting these things, but the problem is accessing them. Judd has been very cooperative as far as he can in making these items available, but other people have gone to the university and they've offered things to the university instead of to the town, because they have a tremendous special collections over there of Bridgewater history. And the only problem they have is access, being able to park near the building to get in, and the special collections is not open at night. So it belongs right here in our library. We support anything you can do to make the historical room more accessible. And just some of the projects that Bridgewater Historical Commission has worked on over the years. The Town Center Historic District came out of the Historical Commission. The Ironworks Historic District came out of the Historical Commission. And we didn't have that much to do with the McElwain School District, but those other 2 districts are very important to Bridgewater history. And I'll let you get on to other important business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do any councilors have any questions for Mr. Moore about the Historical Commission?
What can the council do to support your mission?
Help us change the status to administrative as opposed to advisory. Just to let us have a seat at the table. We're not looking for a vote. We don't want to change anything. We just want to make the committees aware of, like, you've got some major work coming up at the town hall, the old town hall, someday. We'd like to be at that table. We were not at the table when they rebuilt the Academy building, and we had to fight to get on the table for the memorial building. So that's what we're looking for, just recognition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, councilors? All right, well, thank you for the presentation and everything that you do, Mr. Moore. Okay, next up, we have our second presentation, which is going to be on upcoming town ballot questions and the Charter Review Committee. We have Mr. Ed Evaldi coming and presenting. Which, by the way, we are still seeking applicants for the Charter Review Committee. Our original deadline had passed. We had some issues with our meetings recently, and we extended that to the end of the month, which is March 31st. So if you're interested in applying, especially after Mr. Evaldi's presentation here, please go ahead and email our town council clerk, Debbie Ward.
All right, thank you, President. And the purpose of my talk tonight is just really to give residents and you all a little bit of background on these ballot questions so that when people go to vote, they understand what they're voting for. I know that at least for one of them, people have already spoken about, you know, the timing of this is probably not the best timing, but the background as to why the Charter Review Committee decided to go this route, I think is helpful for people to understand. And as former chair of the last Charter Review Committee, which completed its work in 2021, I can hopefully enlighten you all and educate you a little bit more on that. All right, just a little bit of background. Why can't I X out of this? The Charter Review Committee, the charter actually requires that every 6 years a Charter Review Committee be formed to review the charter, to look at the government, to see how, if there's any areas of improvement that can be made, either in the legislative process or in the operation of the government. The charter was adopted in 2011. And the first CRC met in 2014. They decided at the time that after 3 years of working under that new charter that it was time to make some changes, and they made those changes during that time. And then 6 years later, in 2020, the second CRC started, which I was a part of. We met for a year, and we delivered our recommendations in June of 2021. Those were submitted to the council at that time. The recommendations are categorized pretty much in two buckets. A general bucket, which consists of things like grammatical changes, spelling errors, things like that, table of contents, things that apply throughout the whole charter. The other bucket is article-specific changes, and those are the ones that I'll be talking a little bit about tonight. Last but not least is local and state approval process for this whole thing has been very disappointing. As most of you already know, here we are, 6 years later, and we're finally getting to vote on two of the recommendations that the Charter Review Committee made 6 years ago. So there are three ballot questions. The first one is on the stipend. This was actually presented back in September of 2021 by Councilor Chase, and it was approved by the council in April of 2024. The second article, the second ballot question, was presented by Councilors Gallagher and George in August of 2021, and that was approved by the council in October of 2023. The last article here was not a recommendation that came out of the Charter Review Committee, but was submitted by Councilor Perry, I guess in February of last year, and that was approved by the council in July of last year. So the first ballot question, which talks about the stipend, let me just give you a little bit of background on this. At the time when the Charter Review Committee was first formed, the first thing we did, we spent several months gathering input from the citizens, from town employees. We did interviews, we did a citizen survey, and we looked at issues facing the town. And at that time, one of the things that we saw in the feedback that we got was that the council seemed to have people running for office without any competition. And there was a concern that at some point we would run out of people applying for the council position. So we were trying to think of a way that we can incentivize more people in the community to get involved in running for council. So we looked at a national level, we looked at reasons why other communities across the country offer stipends. We weren't really sure at the time whether it was beneficial to us or not, but what's listed here on this slide are some of the main reasons why stipends can provide value. The first is that it can attract and retain more candidates. One of the other things that we saw was that even though council has had a four-term limit, many of the people that ran for council only served one term and then left. For some reason, they didn't feel, they did their 3 years and then they wanted to leave. So there was a retention issue, and there was also people not applying to be on the council. So one of the things the stipend can do is that it can encourage and incentivize people to get involved. The other thing it does is it creates diversity in representation. For people who are living on a modest income that may have to work 2 jobs, a stipend might help offset some of that, the financial strain on them, and may allow them now to volunteer and to actually get involved in running. It improves accountability and performance. When councilors are fairly compensated, they can be held to higher standards for responsiveness and attendance. And the last thing is really the time commitment that you all put into this. We know that you attend over 40-plus meetings a year. Not only do you attend these meetings, but each of you is assigned to be on 2 subcommittees. So you also meet on those subcommittee meetings. You read through a ton of material. It's a very difficult and challenging assignment for you. So, you know, being rewarded for that time commitment, and also your families that have to, you know, make sacrifices as well, we think that's worth the recognition. So how much is being recommended? Councilors would be getting a stipend of $5,000 for the year, and the council president would be $7,500 for the year. The total budget impact would be $47,500. As a percent of our total budget, which is $74 million, that is a 0.0006% of our total budget. Now, the compensation varies across Massachusetts for elected officials. I've listed some towns here and the population in each town and what the stipends are within those towns. And this is just for select boards. So looking at Raynham, who has a population of almost half of ours, they get $8,000 per year. Tewksbury, which is a little closer to us, their chair gets $6,000, while each member gets $5,000. And you can read through the rest here. Although there's no data that's tracked centrally across the 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts, it is very common for towns and cities to offer stipends to their highest level elected officials. At the council, city council levels, these are towns and cities that have councils. You can see, I guess the closest to us would probably be Attleboro at 40,000 people, even though we only have 30,000. They provide a stipend. Each council member gets $14,000. The president gets $15,000. So the pros of paying includes what I've already mentioned about attracting and retaining council members, can attract people and maybe help retain some of the people that gain experience on the council. It also can create more diverse socioeconomic backgrounds for people to serve, promoting inclusivity and reducing barriers for those who can't afford to volunteer their time. And then finally, just the recognition of responsibilities in what you all have to do in these positions. The cons of paying include, we talked about, people have already talked about budgetary constraints. The timing of this is not good, but again, at the time that we put this together 6 years ago, the financial situation was a little brighter than it is right now. But again, looking at the impact on the budget, it's really minuscule. Another con would be public perception. You know, residents may view compensation for elected officials skeptically. You know, and again, during economic downturns, whether or not increases are made or decreases are made. You know, there may be bad perceptions in the public. And lastly, that stipends can become politically charged and can lead to further divisions among community in the officials in the community. So that's some background on the stipend. The next ballot question was the town manager temporary absence. Right now, the way the charter is written, the town manager pretty much has full authority to decide on his or her own how to backfill in any kind of an absence situation. We felt that that was a little too broad, so this recommendation provides more detail and clarifies how a temporary absence of the city or town manager is handled, defines an absence as being not more than 21 days, and right now, this particular recommendation makes the assistant town manager to fill that absence for that 21 days. If the assistant is unable, the town manager appoints a department head. If the town manager is unable to appoint, or the appointee is unable to serve or is unqualified, then the town council may appoint another qualified person until the town manager returns. And lastly, no member of the town council shall serve as acting town manager. So that pretty much summarizes the ballot question number 2. And ballot question number 3, which again I mentioned did not come from the Charter Review Committee but came from the council within. This is a simple charter change that really defines how ad hoc committees within the council are established. Right now, the town manager in the charter has responsibility for all committees and commissions, and this particular change would give ad hoc committees sole authority within the council. So hopefully that clarifies and provides a little additional information on those 3 ballot questions. I don't know if there's any questions.
Questions for Mr. Evaldi?
First of all, I just want to thank you and your committee for all your due diligence. I'm sorry that it's taken this long to get some of this to be acted on. On question number 3, there is a role for the town clerk appointing members of the finance committee, so that might need to be looked at and adjusted.
So this would be for ad hoc committees within the council.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
But it talked about the other boards, committees, and commissions in the bottom line.
Which the town manager has responsibility for.
Right, but the town clerk also has finance committee responsibilities. I just wanted to point that out because I think it's important. And I think we should allow questions on the ballot for the public to decide. Thank you for your work.
Just, can I make one other point?
Of course, yeah.
I forgot to make. That 3rd ballot question does not need to go on the ballot. Just letting you know that it's already law. It's already been approved by the governor and does not need to go on the ballot. If you read through the form that was signed by the governor for the first 2, it does require, but the last one does not require it. So
I'll defer to actually, Mr. Evaldi, do we have some more questions? No? Okay, sorry. Getting off easy. Yeah, will our town attorney review that while we take it up later on?
I can tell you now, you already voted that it would go to the ballot,
Okay,
so it goes to the ballot.
okay.
There are certain amendments here that would not necessarily have had to gone to the ballot, but your initial vote was to put it to the ballot.
I see.
So that's the distinction.
Okay,
So it has to go to the ballot.
okay. All right, we'll now move into our town manager report.
All righty. We're going to have a couple of departmental updates, so we'll have our library director first give the library update.
Hello, Jed Phillips, the director of the library here in town. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the circumstances and the flow of events that led to us unfortunately having to close on Saturdays. As one of our trustees, Danielle, mentioned previously, the beginning of this fiscal year, we lost our archivist, full-time, 35-hour-a-week position, and due to financial constraints, we were unable to refill that position. Even with that position filled, the library was still very thinly staffed as is, regularly having two staff members in the building, and it's my opinion that at minimum 3 staff members at any time are the minimum necessity for us to have a safe operating environment for the public and for our staff. My staff have done an amazing job at absorbing a lot of the responsibilities and tasks that open position has left unfilled. But we've recently had a staff member that went out on maternity. With that, they are also full-time. That's a combined cut of my full-time staffing of 25%. Unfortunately, that amount is just too much to overcome with giving more tasks to more people. The reason why we chose Saturday over any other day of the week, first is we did a calculation over the past year of what the average number of visitors per hour are for each day of the week. Saturday is by far the lowest number of visitors. Some days of the week are higher than other days of the week, but they're all significantly higher than Saturdays. So part of the reasoning for Saturdays is that it impacted the least number of residents in town. The other major consideration is that the school-age children during the week depend on the library as a place to go after school. If we were to close on a weekday, they would have nowhere to go. I don't know what they would do. They'd be wandering around downtown, hanging out at Cumberland Farms. I'd rather them be in the building, getting the resources that they deserve and having a safe, space for them to be. The closing on Saturday is a temporary thing. Once our staff member that comes back from maternity will be able to reinstate those Saturday hours as they have been. But at this time, it's just not possible for us to be open that number of hours with the number of staff hours we have.
Thank you. Questions from our counselors?
Oh, yeah. I'm a regular library user every single day, including Saturdays. But I'm not someone that works in Boston from 9 to 5 and has to get back to Bridgewater maybe 6:30 if they're lucky in good traffic, and maybe can get to the library with their kids for an hour, maybe even 45 minutes, 3 days a week. That's 3 hours a week. I believe this action is depriving our citizens and taxpayers of Saturday service, okay? I don't think it is a good look. I'd love to know what the Friday statistics are to go along with the Saturday statistics. I was taken by incredible surprise because I'm there every day and I talk to people, both from the leadership and from, I'm going to be honest and just say it, our town manager. So I read it on Facebook. We didn't have 2 weeks' notice. I've gotten nothing but calls, texts, and emails. I think it's awful. I feel as strongly as the gentleman that got up there and talked about stipends, okay? That's my cause célèbre. I was a library trustee for 23 years. I talked to one of the library trustees about this. It was an unpleasant conversation, to say the least. Someone I know and I'm friends with. I think it's deplorable. That's all I'm going to say.
So I will agree with you. This was a painful decision. I hate that I had to make it. But it was the least bad of a bunch of really bad options with the resources we have. I can give you the numbers. The average number of people per hour that visit the library on a Saturday is 30. On a Friday, it's 42. And you will also, and that's per hour. And I know Saturdays are less hours we're open. That's per hour. It's the only fair way to assess it. Yes, we are depriving a section of the public of access to the library by closing on Saturdays. But any day we close, we're depriving access to residents that need the library. And there's no one individual in town that deserves access to the library more than another. So I had to purely do the logical, mathematical decision of how many people will be affected and go with the least amount of people.
Thank you for that.
I just want to thank you for letting us all know why and the reasons why. I think that it does sound like a tough decision. My kids use the library on Saturdays occasionally. It is a great resource for the people in town, but I appreciate the pragmatic approach to trying to make the best decision out of a bad situation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, counselors? I'm sure you already considered this, but is it possible to do 2 half days, like a half day on a Friday, half day Saturday, other than that may be difficult for staff?
It would be extremely difficult for staff.
Yeah.
Also, it required the vast majority of my full-time staff to work 6 days a week.
Yes, I figured.
don't know if that would be an issue with the union, but I assume it probably would be. But again, yeah.
I'm sure it's hard to say exactly when, but when do you anticipate that the staff member who's out on maternity leave would return?
So they're currently out. They haven't given birth yet. And I don't know how much detail I can go into, but typical FMLA, it's 12 weeks post-birth. So we're hoping towards the tail end of this fiscal year.
I don't think we need to get into that about
Okay.
a employee's personal
Sorry about
life.
that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
My apologies.
I shouldn't have asked it. Sorry about that. Anything further? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before Jed goes, the other item for library, and I think we just want to emphasize, you can stay there, Jed, just in case you have any questions. No one is happy with this decision. I think we've all talked about this, talked with his counselors, to fundamentally, a library is one of the last bastions where residents can get free services. So none of us like this. It was a difficult decision. I commend Jed and the library trustees to come up. The next item is regarding the BSU and the library collaboration. So a little bit of good news there in regards to that. Yeah, Jed, you can do that as well. Just a little background. We've been having conversations, and Jed can give a little bit more history about the senior college, but we've been having discussions with BSU about making some technological investments at the library that will not only benefit the senior college, but the community as a whole. So I'll let Jed share that because it is a bit of news, so I want him to be able to share it.
Yeah, I almost forgot about the actual positive, what's going on in the library. So we've had a long-standing relationship with BSU over at the library. We provide space and collaborate with them for BSU senior learning classes. They average during any given semester 6 to 9 hours a week at the library providing classes. They've been using our primary floor T little meeting room for the time, and we've made it work the best we could, but the technology and the accessibility of the room is less than stellar, we'll put it. We've come to an agreement to continue our relationship and our partnership, and they are going to be doing a major overhaul of the technology in that room, adding additional technology, additional screens, connecting that room to BSU's fiber optic line so that we have much more reliable, faster internet speeds. It's going to make that room infinitely more useful for the public, not just for the BSU classes. If the town were to try to do what they're going to do on our own financially, it would easily be over $30,000. And they're going to do it. All we had to do is agree to give them 6 to 9 hours a week during the semesters, which is what we're already doing. So it seemed like a no-brainer, and they've been such a help to the library in many different ways. It's really nice to have that positive addition, and they're going to be starting work as soon as possible. They hope to have this done before the summer.
Great news. Anything from the counselors? Any questions?
Yep. I think this sounds great. I guess one of my only questions is, and you kind of touched on this with what you said already, but they're already using for roughly those amount of hours as that stands now?
Yes.
Okay. How does the usage of that space get prioritized once we give the access to BSU to install all of this? Is there?
So we've already locked in the schedule in advance that they get basically Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings, that we schedule those rooms for those classes. And they give me the class information well before the semester, and we do that. That's ultimately a very small amount of time that one single room would be unavailable for public library use. We do have 2 other meeting spaces. One's smaller, 8 to 12 people. The other can fit about 50. So we can still have multiple programs going on at the same time. The real restriction to that is really parking more than room space. But we still use, a lot of our adult programs happen in the evenings anyway. There's no conflict. We do a massive amount of programs. We have great attendance, and the BSU does not negatively impact that in any noticeable way.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Yes.
I just want to compliment you, Mr. Phillips. I am with a writing group at the library, and you have been very generous in allowing the people to write their books at the library. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Anything else?
Here's a question for our town attorney. One of my famous questions: Who signs or who enters into this agreement on behalf of the town of Bridgewater?
Which one?
The memorandum of understanding before us
With the library?
with the library and the BSU.
I don't have that before me.
The one that we're referring to now, we're talking
I
about?
don't
You
have it.
that one?
No,
Follow up after the fact.
happy to.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I do just have one follow-up question. How many programs have happened on Saturdays in the past?
In the past,
Yeah.
it depends on our staffing levels, but when we are fully staffed, we average about, if I had to, I would say around 40 a year.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you so much.
The next update, we're going to just give a general HR update from our HR director. We'll focus on a couple of items there, but our HR director will tell you a little bit of work our HR department has been doing.
Hi, my name's Carolyn Wood. I'm the HR Director. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I just wanted to go over a little bit about our department and some of the initiatives we've been working on. Our department serves all the departments in the town. We support them in areas such as recruitment, benefits and leave administration, employee and labor relations, training and development, policy development, compliance, and wellness and engagement. Earlier this year, one of the things that we worked on was we wanted to touch base with our employees, see how we're doing. What are our strengths? Where can we improve? So we sent out an employee satisfaction survey. The survey went to all employees, and the responses were voluntary, and they were also anonymous. And again, our goal was just to see, what are we doing well? Where can we improve? Our questions surrounded things such as workplace culture, communication, training, leadership, compensation, and organizational practices. As we reviewed the results of the survey, there were some overall themes. Employees were committed to serving the community. Many reported positive working relationships within their departments. They really enjoyed the collaboration on their teams, and most would recommend Bridgewater as a place to work. Overall, the responses reflect a workforce that is engaged in public service and committed to their roles. Some of the key strengths we found were that, again, our employees really expressed a sense of purpose and pride in their roles in serving residents. There was a strong sense of teamwork and collaboration within departments, the appreciation for opportunities to grow professionally, and recognize improvements in organizational leadership and communication. Some areas where we could improve were our performance evaluation process. We got a lot of feedback from employees that this wasn't as regular as they would like, and they would like more discussions about professional development and what their goals were going forward. Some employees noted an interest in continued review of alignment of their compensation with both internal coworkers as well as externally with our surrounding and comparable communities. They also wanted greater clarity around organizational decisions and policies. Some other themes that came up were concerns about ensuring adequate staffing and backup coverage in some departments, and strengthening collaboration across departments. Another area that we've been looking at to get a broader view of our organization is a Collins Center staffing study that we've been working on, or operational overview. We started working with the Collins Center back in the fall to conduct a review of our overall organization. We wanted them to look at our staffing levels. Are there areas where we're overstaffed or understaffed? Are there structural procedural, or technological issues that are creating inefficiencies in our operations. And through this process, part of their work was to review all of our job descriptions, review our collective bargaining agreements, our operating budget, and our organizational chart. They then went and interviewed each department head to get an idea of what processes and the workflow through their departments. They reviewed annual reports for the last years to really get a collective look at all the work that flows through all of our departments. They're completing their analysis now, and we look forward to having them present to the council in April. Some other initiatives that we're working on, and this first one comes directly from our employee satisfaction survey. We're reevaluating our employee review process. We're working with training our managers to make sure that we give our employees and our supervisors a consistent framework for how they're evaluated. We're encouraging conversations between supervisors and employees, making sure that they're getting that feedback of where they're doing well, where they can improve, and establishing goals, and promoting communication not just in the annual review process, but throughout the year. The next initiative that we're working on is updating our employee handbook. Our employee handbook hasn't been updated since 2016. So we really need to look at that to ensure that we're compliant with current laws, regulations, and practices. We're also looking at, do they align with our current operational practices and our current collective bargaining agreements? We're updating the language for clarity and consistency, and we're really trying to provide employees and supervisors with a framework for consistency, communication, accountability, and employee development. Another area that we've really been focusing on, and we got really good feedback in our employee satisfaction survey, is our employee engagement and wellness initiatives. Employee engagement really helps to promote and improve productivity, decrease absenteeism, and improve employee retention. It enhances communication and collaboration amongst teams and promotes a healthier workforce. Marissa in our office particularly has really championed this, and she's done a great job in the last year working with our partners at Mayflower Municipal Health Group and taking advantage of grant opportunities we have to run events for our employees, as well as working with our partners at Harvard Pilgrim and Blue Cross Blue Shield. So some of the programs that we've run, we did a financial wellness seminar where we brought in Plymouth County Retirement and our other Empower retirement provider, and they talked to our employees about how they could help plan better for retirement. We then brought them back and they did individual meetings with employees so they could talk individually. We brought back the holiday potluck, employee potluck. It's, just to get everybody together and collaborate and communicate and get all the departments together. We also did a food and clothing drive over the winter, which gave our employees an opportunity to give back to the community. And recently, we did a healthy smoothie demonstration. So all of these initiatives are supporting the town's goal of maintaining a healthy, engaged, and effective workforce serve the community. We're also working on a few other kind of operational improvements. We've worked a lot over the last year to get our collective bargaining agreements onto our website, as well as all of our employee benefits information, trying to centralize all of our information so that both employees and the public can find that. We've streamlined our hiring and onboarding process with the implementation of Bamboo HR, and we've worked to expand the volunteer program. HR does all the onboarding for the employees, for the volunteers for the SAFE program and the Veterans Work-Off program. In 2024, we had 20 volunteers. Currently, in 2026, we have 50 volunteers placed. So we've worked really hard to work with our departments and find somebody, a volunteer that can fit with them. It helps our departments offload some of their work, as well as offering these tax abatement for more members of the community. So through these initiatives, the Human Resources Department is focused on strengthening communication, consistency, and support for employees across all departments. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you for that. Councilor Murphy?
Just a few quick questions. Thank you for that. How many staff members do you have in HR?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How many staff members are in your department?
2,
Yourself and one other?
yes,
And then how many employees does the town have roughly that you help support?
206.
206 amongst 2 people. I know that you were a great resource to me when we were going through the process of hiring a new town manager, so thank you for that, and thank you for the work that you do with the limited staff. And it looks like you all are offering incredible opportunities to our staff and making the most out of opportunities such as grants and ways to be able to offer those initiatives. So thank you for that. How long have you been with Bridgewater too? It's
2.5 years.
right. It's only been a short amount of time.
Yep,
and
yep.
You've done a lot of work and a lot of great changes. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Any other
I'm
questions?
just going to echo
Okay.
Councilor Murphy's comments. Thank you for the help that you provided us with, recent issues, and just, it's hard having been HR in addition to my main job. It's tough to just have the number you have. So thank you.
Anything further? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have an IT update. We're going to address one of the questions about the website and so forth, and, yep, and Brad.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Brad Durzak, the head of the IT department. There we go. Is that a little better? Just want to give a, update on our website. We continue on a daily basis to do updates to our website. As departments give us information, the press releases and all that stuff, my department is in charge of putting all that stuff on our website. We're also refining our search functionality on a weekly basis by updating our curative search terms that we have on the front page of our website. We're using data. Right now, we have 3 months of data right now since we started in January. And we've identified that using Google Search Console and Google Analytics. And it is an ongoing effort intended to improve the accuracy and accessibility of information for the residents. One of the main reasons for this update to talk about our website communications. As a part of, just to give a little background on it, as a part of our FY26 budget process, the IT department was directed by our interim town manager to identify a cost-saving opportunity. And one of these areas that was impacted was our website platform. So based on that recommendation from the interim town manager, we transitioned from Civic Plus to Revise, which we have right now, to reduce our ongoing maintenance costs. As a result of that transition, certain services that were previously bundled with our website were no longer available, including that text alert functionality that people keep talking about. Also, the C-Click Fix, which is the, citizens request portal through Civic Plus. We do understand the importance of these communication tools and have worked closely with the town manager to evaluate a replacement solution that will restore and enhance the text and email communication capabilities that we had before. We are in the process of, actually right now, we do have a new version of that citizens request portal. We are in the process of setting it up, and hopefully within the next few weeks that will be live. So again, it will provide citizens with a way to submit and track requests, through our website. And it's, similar to that C-Click Fix, the revised software does have a program that does that, and we're in the process of setting that up right now. Our main concern was getting the website up and running and getting a lot of these things, because there was a lot of things that needed to be updated and changed, and so we're now getting onto that, and hopefully within the next, I'd say, 2 weeks, we'll have that running. And I guess the last part of my update in regards to the I guess, audio issues that we've had in the last few weeks here. While we don't know the exact cause of the issue that we experienced 2 weeks ago, we did resolve the issue. We're currently working with Jeff Fowler and BTV to develop a short-term, backup solution to ensure continuity in the event of future audio issues. Looking ahead, we are planning to do some upgrades to the council chambers during the summer months when you guys have, meetings less frequent. We can have some time to do some updates, some proposed improvements include replacing this projector here to go with possibly 2 large displays on the wall. And because we've been having some issues with the projector, I did actually on Monday, I replaced the bulb on this, so it does seem brighter now. There was a bulb issue, but we're looking at doing 2 large display monitors, make it easier for people to be able to see things. And, also have better for presentations and Zoom integration. And we are going to look to replace some of the audio mixers that are right now considered end of life because they are 10 years old. And that is all I have right now. Thank you.
Questions from councilors?
Just a question maybe more for our town manager, but C-Click Fix was actually on my list to ask you about for next time. But since it was brought up here, it sounds like in about 2 weeks, we'll have this citizen request system built in.
Yeah, so Citizens Request Portal is what it's called in the new version, but it's the same thing as C-Click Fix where, you'll be able to submit requests online for, as we did, DPW requests, things like that, potholes, tree limbs down, stuff like that, but that will be, we're working on it right now. We're hoping to have it live in the next 2 weeks or so.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just going to say to our town manager, it might be a good thing to get that out there once it's up and running, because I know this time of year, as folks are finally seeing the snow melt, that a lot of those road complaints or questions will come into play too.
Brad, thank you for your report. I did want to ask you a similar question to what we asked the HR director. How many staff do you have?
I have, besides myself, there's 3 of us total in the department.
Okay, and how many, I don't know if you can answer this question, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Sure.
How many devices and technology things are you responsible for? Just
That's a good,
ballpark?
Somewhere in the realm of, I don't know, a couple hundred. I mean, 300, 400. I mean, it really depends on what it is because, we do everything from copy machines, to computers, anything electronic, it comes through our office. So, we have over 100, department issue cell phones. We have, 225 computers. Like, it can go on and list devices that we work on a daily basis, so.
And technology that is over a certain age, I finally got my accountant when I worked at the cable station to agree to me to not depreciate computers over a 7-year cycle, because once they get to be a certain age, they're good doorstops.
Yes, we've been fortunate that, with the capital plan, we've been able to maintain a, realistic schedule every 3 to 5 years to replace devices. So that's, one thing that we've had with the capital plan over the last few years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad, you mentioned earlier about the search function of the website, and I've heard it from a number of residents, including myself, using it. It's, just doing like a search for a particular order or ordinance or any type of piece of legislation. It's difficult to find that particular one, even if you put the number and the year and all that type of stuff. What can be done to improve that searchability for those types of documents?
I can definitely work with the vendor on that. The main part of the search, which is different, is the main search. When you do a search and you type something in that first box is what's called a curative search. We have the ability to set those terms.
Okay.
So as we come up with new keywords, and that's using, for example, the Google Search Console, over the last 3 months, I had to wait for some data to get in there, but it gives us the search terms that people are putting into Google to find certain things. And then we can add that into our website so we can, find these terms better. I think I put 20 of them in today.
Yeah.
So it's, there are a couple different search features, and, maybe next time I come in, I can kind of show you how it works a little bit.
Yeah.
But we keep adding, more terms to that. Mainly if you put in, for example, ordinances, it should go to the, agendas and ordinances pages, then you have to do search from there. It's not like our old page where you could put it in and it goes to a specific document. You kind of have to go to, I think it's in Civic Clerk, and then from there you have to find it in there.
I see.
So,
All right. And any improvements on that linkability to, so if we don't have to go right to the Civic, Plus
Yeah.
page or anything, is there any improvements going to be happening in that regard that might just bring you right to that document, or?
I can definitely, we'll do our best to do that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Problem.
Councilor Kennedy?
Kind of touching on what Councilor Perry mentioned, asked about the search function. Obviously, I think some people are having some issues with it. I've also experienced it. This is kind of a back-end question, but is it in a central repository where all the documents are held, or is it sparse between different places where that information is saved?
Yeah, if it is, for example, if it's a council document, a lot of that stuff is stored in Civic Clerk.
Okay.
So that's a separate program from our website. All the, the documents that are relative to our website are in a repository on the website,
Okay.
yes. There is for that, but, for example, orders and things like that, if they weren't put in our website, that would be in the Civic Clerk program.
Is it on?
Specifically.
Do you do the keyword port with Civic, or do they?
That's in that software.
Okay.
The one that we have control over is with the new revised site.
Okay. All right. And then just to clarify, residents asked a couple of times, and you did touch on it, the notification system.
Yes.
We had it, now we don't currently have it, and we're looking to resolve that in some
Yes.
fashion to find a new one.
Yep.
Are the links still up on the website currently? Were those ported and people are trying to sign up for things that don't exist?
Well, no, none of that. The notifications works differently in the new website. It's not the same as it was before. What we've been actually looking at is similar to like a 311 software that can integrate everything with our social media and everything else. So we're just looking at different options right now
Okay.
to see what's best, and we can then start recreating those, those alerts like we had before, because you can put alerts, in advance with these newer softwares. So that's what we've been looking at in the last, week or so. So we have got a few options, and we're trying to see which one's best for us.
All right, great, thank you.
Yep.
So the subscribe to e-notifications, that's not currently working? Sorry, I kind of lost
Yeah,
that.
no, it does, but it doesn't work. I guess the way it was explained to me, it only updates when the page changes. It's not, like in our old software, if we put in, for example, a calendar item for the council meeting, it would automatically go to a notification area that we could put in. It would send out an alert based on that calendar item. There is no notification piece built into the calendar item, so that's what we're trying to look to replace. To do that, the notification system that's in it right now, it will notify you. So if you sign up for alerts, for example, for the news flash area, it will tell you that there's a new news flash, and that's what you'll get for an alert. It doesn't tell you what it is. It makes you click on it, go to the site, and then look at the new news flash.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then on the topic of the audiovisual issues that we had,
Yeah.
what systems are in place now so that doesn't occur again? Is there a certain standard operating procedure of checks of the room before a meeting?
Yes, yeah, and for some reason, the issue that did happen, it was a fluke issue, we don't know why. There was a certain setting that got disabled across, so we have 3 mixers in the back room, and they all linked together, but for some reason, they became unlinked, and that's why there was only, there's 3 mixers, so the only one was working was the top one, because they all linked to the top one, but they weren't linked together. Not sure how that came unchecked, but it somehow unlinked itself, and that's why there was only, 8 microphones working last time. But we've figured out what happened, how to recognize, how to fix it, and it's, we can fix it ahead of time next time.
Great.
But it was something that I'm not sure why it happened.
I knew I forgot one question, but Marilee was trying to get your attention as well.
Yes.
I was going to give up because I figured it was just kind of silly, but I'll ask you anyway, Brad. Is there any way, someone asked me today about trying to find something on the website that they couldn't find and they were upset. Is there any way to just have a guidance page, a how-to page that tells for the various things that somebody could just click on that and then it'll tell them how to find the names for this or that? Is that, maybe I'm just being too silly, but
No, we could definitely do something like that. That's not a problem.
I think it might be helpful because I do hear a lot of people saying they're not adjusted to the new one yet, trying to get there.
I mean, we could definitely, I could probably do like record a YouTube video of how to do it, definitely.
Star of YouTube now. So 2 questions. One thing that I was able to do in a different era is tested my setup every day before. It was a selectman meeting and a school committee meeting. We put out bars and tone during the day to make sure it worked. The other question I have is with the new fire station, is that set up for audio visual that if we had to ever have an alternative site, we could utilize that?
Well, it does have it has a Zoom room built into the EOC training room. So yes, in a certain way, it does have a camera on the wall. It's not like here where you have multiple camera setup, but it is a single camera setup that it could do it with a, it has an 85-inch display on the wall. So yes, it is capable of being done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, councilors? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty, and then the final department giving an update tonight is a quick, brief update from DPW and the water update. Before Bill speaks, go ahead, Bill. One of the questions I think that was posed was the question about what's considered not approved, and I think the time period for not approval is during the water emergency declaration. That would be the case. Obviously, we've talked about this a couple of times. Anything further is a decision for the council in terms of moratoriums or the legislation you're considering. But it's considering the water emergency declaration. And then also the treatment units. So we're going to stop saying trailers because they're not really trailers, but they're units. They're going to be a permanent thing. It's an enclosure. It wouldn't be like a gazebo. It would be an enclosure. So we're working to do that. And we're working in collaboration with DEP. They're aware that this would be a long-term thing as well. So I think those were some of the items that were brought up this evening.
Good evening to the town council. I'll start off with more redevelopment stuff. I did hear from our contractor yesterday. He will be able to return to Bridgewater next Monday. So we will move into redevelopment of well 6. Currently, well 6 is doing approximately 170,000 gallons a day. Unfortunately, we do rely on our contractors at times. So during this activity, it will take approximately 2 weeks. We will have to limit our hydrant flushing in order to maintain the tower levels. 10A and 10B, Apex and Bridgewater have been moving forward with that. The bid went out on March 12th, 2026. Yesterday, we had a pre-bid meeting that was held at the well site. We did have 3 contractors on site for that. The bids will close March 19th, and town staff will look to review those bids and have a notice to proceed by March 24th. As this weather gets nicer, we have been going out and looking and assessing hydrant damage with the snowstorms this winter. There are 3 hydrants that I'm looking to get replaced within the next couple of weeks. And that will also help facilitate our flushing procedures and how we are going to move water into certain areas of town. The Middleborough interconnection, up to date, we have received just over 20 million gallons of water. Staff continue to monitor it daily and conduct inspections to make sure that we maintain peak operational flow. Operation and maintenance, we are finishing up. Treatment staff are currently finalizing year-end reports for 2025 to be submitted to Department of Environmental Protections. Routine maintenance has started to be done at the High Street Treatment Facility and Carver Pond Treatment Facility to ensure we are able to meet peak high demand season. And then one other update I do have is the Bridgewater High School and Middle School are part of our lead and copper sampling for the town. They did receive a notification in December that they did have a lead level above the non-detect, which is not an exceedance in accordance to DEP, but at that time I met with Superintendent Powers. We implemented the Mass DEP 3Ts training. So basically that's training, testing, and then taking action. At that time, we immediately put in a flushing procedure for those two sinks that were at the school, and then they did reach out to a licensed contractor plumber and have gotten those two sinks repaired. We actually did just get Q1 results for lead and copper this year, and both schools have come back with non-detect for Q1. So the progress that Mr. Powers and I have made seems to have worked, and obviously as time progresses, we'll continue to monitor that situation and any problems that arise.
Great. Well, that's great news. Thank you for that update.
Just a couple questions through you, Mr. President. The lead testing, can you just give me like a overview of how you guys do the testing in the schools? Do you do every single faucet, every single water fountain?
So they're actually DEP picked. So we do it for residential establishments, and then we also do it for community establishments. The schools are now a requirement through DEP. So they actually pick the actual site. We go into the facility, determine what is newer plumbing and what's older plumbing, and then the schools departments and residents themselves actually take the test. It's a 6-hour stagnant water test, so you actually don't use water for 6 hours prior to taking the sample. It's a representative sample of what's actually in your faucets, not what's in the water main themselves.
Were those caught on routine testing?
Yes.
Okay. Were there other tests done? You said the Q1 tests have been clear.
So right now with Bridgewater and Mass DEP, we are required to do 60 lead and copper samples first quarter, which is January through June, and then we'll be required to do another 60 samples from July to December of this year.
Okay. And then I just have a question on the High Street pump station. There's just been a lot of conversation over if we're navigating towards the trailers or the units for wells 10A, 10B, and there's been questions whether or not the treatment plant was just not outfitted correctly. My takeaway from the discussion at the last meeting was that the contaminants in those wells are different now than in the Plymouth Street wells and the High Street wells. So is there an issue with the plant itself, design-wise, pumping that water, or is it just a chemistry issue?
Nope. So yeah, to answer your question easily, yes, it is a chemistry issue. It's about the different water qualities. Right now, because it's not a PFAS-free facility, the wells at High Street are under PFAS regulations for the state of Massachusetts, where that's part of the reason why we made the decision to not disrupt a plant that's pumping the better quality water than what you would be pumping at 10A and 10B. So it's more of a chemistry
We'd be
issue.
pumping more PFAS into the system
Yes.
by the current design of the High Street plant. Okay, thank you.
You mentioned on the hydrant flushing, I'm trying to find out what the procedure is if you think you have a damaged hydrant nearby. Who would be notified?
So if it's an emergency, we get notified by the police and fire department. So if somebody were to have an accident and hit a hydrant, they would call out to either me or one of my staff. And then during the day, normal operations, our guys are actually out physically going and inspecting the hydrants themselves.
Reason I'm asking is a neighbor of mine told me that she thought a snowplow hit a hydrant and then put it back in place. There's no apparent leak or anything there, but who would?
So that's something that we would get called out for. That's a 24-hour emergency response at that point. Is if there was an accident or something, our water department staff would be on site to determine if there was a leak or any involvement in breaking the hydrant itself.
Okay, I'll let you know the location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just on the same topic of flushing, last week I had asked the question about when we were going to start flushing, and I believe the answer was this week.
Yes.
But that's not the case.
That's not the case. And like I was saying in my report is, based off of operational and what we can do with our contractors, is the time that I'm able to get a well driller in here to redevelop that well is next Monday, where once we take that well offline, we're not producing that 170,000 gallons a day that I would be using to flush.
Why wouldn't we do it this week, though, before Monday?
Because we're repairing the hydrants, and I was working on getting 10A and 10B bidding process done.
Do you know about-
We would like to try and flush at the end of the week if possible.
Do you know about how long the repairs are estimated to take on well 6?
A hydrant can go from anywhere between 3 or 4 hours to a day.
I meant on the well, sorry.
About approximately 2 weeks. That's what well 3 was originally, and then obviously we had some setbacks with the weather.
Well, Councilor Murphy, one thing to add to that, we fully intended to do flushing this week. We always said weather dependent, but I think the key part that Bill said there is we were hoping we'd have the capability to do well 6 earlier, but the contractor intimated that they wouldn't be able to do that. If the council remembers, we reported last week, we did well redevelopment that essentially doubled the water capacity of another well. So we want to take advantage of that because that is actually strengthening our water system to increase the capacity. So strategically, we were just saying, if the contractors say, hey, we can come in a little bit earlier than what we expected, we want to take advantage of that, and we fully intend to do that flushing. In terms of also noticing, because I think that was another part of the question, that was that we will make sure that we notice the community when we do our flushing program. We just want to take advantage of that well redevelopment, because hopefully we can have the same results as we had on another well.
Excellent. Can I just, just another follow-up. On the blue drop system, it sounds, I haven't heard many complaints lately, so it sounds like the system may be working as expected, but I know we had talked about a second location. Any update on the second location for that?
That's still a work in progress. I have reached out to Mark Ritchie, who is the operational guy for Blue Drop. We have the fire station and possibly BTV as a location. He is going to hopefully come out by the end of this week and tour those facilities with me to start to get a better of a game plan.
Okay. I think I had asked or requested if we could get the readout for how much we're doing or what that looks like. I think it would be great to just see the numbers.
Yes. So to answer your question, we actually have started to track that more frequently. I can get you a report for that in a follow-up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, we've heard a couple of residents earlier just asking about the treatment units, temporary versus permanent, are they designed to be a long-lasting solution for the situation? Can you speak to that a little bit, and then also potentially the question about maintenance?
Yeah, so it's these vessels that are for iron and manganese. They're very similar vessels to what we have in place at Carver's Pond and High Street Treatment Facility. Obviously, all of it needs to get maintenance over a long period of time. Carver's Pond has been 26 years since those vessels have last been maintained or operated. We change the resins out and the actual media filtration a little bit more often, but that also is based off of the water quality. As obviously, the more iron and stuff that you pull out of the ground, you're gonna have to treat somewhere, and that's what lowers the longevity of this equipment.
Sure. But the vessels can be a long-term solution.
Yep. Yes.
And then again, as we talked about, enclosing them to make them more of a permanent structure.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Is there, sorry, anybody else before I go?
What do you do in terms of redeveloping of the wells, and is there a schedule that Bridgewater maintains for the redevelopments?
There has been a schedule. In the past, we try and do 2 wells every year, so that's been a rotation of which wells, obviously, throughout those years. So about every 3 years, every well should be redeveloped. And the process is you actually take out the motor, you take out the pump, and physically clean it with chlorine, hydroxide, and things like that, and actually flush water through it to clear out the casing and membrane, or the filter screen, I'm sorry.
One more.
The cost associated to the trailers, do we have any numbers yet on any of this? Either how much it's gonna cost us, or do we have any maintenance fees or anything?
Not yet. That will be when we receive the bid. It will have
So
a better determination.
we're still in the bid process, and then once we get the bid process, we'll have a better understanding of the cost of that. And then, you said it's similar to what we already have for at least the iron and manganese?
Yes.
Okay. Does that mean it's cheaper for us because we already use those components?
The media filtration inside the vessels, yes, like the anthracite, the sand and gravel, yes, that stuff we can buy more in bulk.
Okay.
The vessels themselves are the vessels.
Okay.
Any other questions? I've got a couple real quick. Are there any communities that are currently using vessels such as these, treatment units where there's proven success? Obviously, we're not the first to do this, but
In regards to
utilizing these what were previously mobile treatment trailers into more permanent units.
every town that I've worked in that has iron and manganese problems are using the same filtration process.
Okay. And then if we were to develop other wells, we could potentially purchase more units and provide treatment on site over there.
Yep.
And then have we done a cost analysis on the total cost? Because with the maintenance and stuff like that, I know that was already kind of asked, but it seems like it's cheaper than building a new plant. So my curiosity is like, why isn't everybody else doing this? It seems cheaper.
So there's a lot of factors that go into that. I'm not an engineer, so I can't necessarily speak to that, but there's a lot of building codes and things like that that are also brought into factorization. So High Street also has a locker room. It has facilities for our staff and everything. It has a conference room where we're just trying to get the water out of the ground efficiently as quickly as possible because we are in an emergency, where other facilities normally you'd see a bigger build out and a bigger cost associated with those.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And just because people ask, we're going to continue to be in a water emergency as long as that connection is active, correct?
Yes.
And then, that's coming up quickly and everybody is curious about that. I think it's April 15th. I don't know if that's the right date.
April 12th, I believe.
April 12th?
Yep.
And if these treatment units aren't available at that time, what is the town's plan if we're not ready to go online at that point?
I'll step in for a little bit, Bill. What we intend to do is to make sure that we're utilizing that interconnection as efficiently now to make sure our tanks are at a suitable level. Obviously, we'll get into a spring and summertime when there's more usage. Obviously, BSU was one of our largest users. They won't be in session 2, but we're hoping that these treatment units are in place before then. We're going to make sure we top off our tanks as best as possible. We'll take as much water as we can from Middleborough. I think people have been very transparent. We'll end up going back to Middleborough, ask them to reevaluate this 3-month process, and ultimately that select board, that community has to make a determination there. But we'll do everything we can, looking at every opportunity we have to make sure we have a good water levels in our storage tank, and we can navigate and see the successful completion of these treatment units in place.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds pertinent to maybe ask for that extension, as you had mentioned, so that we, have a little bit of flexibility and more of an overlap, so that when spring comes and there's more uses, that we're in a better position. And then I think you guys are going to go there in 2 weeks, not next week, because I had said next week and I misspoke, so I wanted to correct myself.
Yeah, no, I think when I initially spoke with the select board chairman about appearing before them, it was intimated maybe March 23rd, but I think they want to do March 30th. We'll go whenever is suitable for them, and we'll ask them to take a look at that.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Anything else? Anything further?
Yes, this is maybe a little bit of a tangent, but water rates for potentially BSU or for large commercial properties versus homeowners. I'm asking you, Mr. Town Manager, when in the process would it be appropriate for us to address water rates amongst this whole process here?
Yeah, great question. So I'm sure the council remembers you did adjust the rates this year for the larger tier users. You made that adjustment. One thing that we're doing is, Raftellus did that water rate study, and I've talked about this before. I think it makes sense for the Bridgewater to have Raftellus to continue to do those water rate studies, work in collaboration with us, give you recommendations. So if you remember, you did approve the water and sewer rates for 1 year. So you're going to come back within that a year again and consider water rates. So that's when you would consider adjustments. They'll obviously have recommendations, staff will have recommendation, but that's when the town council makes the determination on water rates.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything further, councilors? All right, thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. But one thing I would add to the water update is, obviously we've listened to residents and working with our council. We will end up working with our IT department, with our water department. We'll create a certain dashboard on our website so people can get some of this information. Have it transparently as possible. We'll put the presentations. We'll try to keep it as, as easy to understand as possible. So we plan to do that. We plan to release our updates there as well, so people can get information directly from our websites. So we plan on working on that as well. Thank you. Real quick, a little grant update. I'm very happy. I know we talked about the library earlier, but we did apply for some green community grants. The town's getting a little bit over $80,000 for green community projects, and the largest part of that is work related to the library and window restoration. So I'm very happy with that. That's another grant that the town has gotten in the last couple of weeks. So we appreciate the collaboration with the Healy Driscoll administration there. The next item is our DPW storm response. I know it's a couple weeks later, and I don't want to talk about snow much more, but I do want to take advantage of that opportunity. I know Donna had mentioned it at our last meeting. And I do want to highlight the work that our highway department, our public safety teams, police, fire, did throughout that storm. It was a lot of collaboration. I mentioned in my operational update, I saw the things that make this community what it is, which is special. When I was driving around town with a highway superintendent, I saw community members helping one another. I saw our staff helping residents and, team members working over 30 hours straight to make sure we were trying to keep our roads as open as possible. So I really want to personally thank them for their work. I appreciate the community and their support during this period. And I do highlight that story about, a 3-hour call that required highway, police, fire to make sure we got that person to where they needed to go. So I'm very proud of my team. As part of that DPW storm response, so that's the good stuff. The bad stuff is there's obviously a larger snow and ice deficit. We had a more robust New England winter. So in the packet, you'll see what snow and ice has been the last couple of years. Now it's a about $930,000 snow and ice deficit. We've mentioned before, we're going to go, we've applied for some FEMA reimbursement of those funds, and obviously we have to make up that deficit through the next fiscal year. But that is one thing, snow and ice deficits. I know we talked about this finance committee. Snow and ice deficits is one of the deficits that can go into the following year. And depending on what the state determines DLS, you can maybe carry that over a couple of years as well. But we're going to be very proactive going after FEMA grant funds, and we'll address that deficit as part of that process.
Great. Any questions on that?
No, great. Again, I thought the town did as fine a job as possible during the storm, considering the amount of snow. But through the town manager, maybe to Azua DPW, what's the best way residents should report any potential street damage as far as blacktop, potholes, things of that nature as a result of the damage from the storm?
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, so we do have the, Brad mentioned it earlier, the quick fix, click and fix. And we also do have ticket issuance. So when we get a call, we assign a ticket to that, and within 24 hours, we let the person know that we will be the time frame for getting that work done.
There's usually the highway department as well. I think that's one of your question. Calling our highway department phone line, we are pretty responsive to that, and our staff can follow up the way that Azu just mentioned.
Right, I think that would be the best way, since that click it, fix it is not quite up on their website quite yet. So
Yeah.
I would say
But
call the highway department.
Right, but people do call.
Okay.
We run up about probably 30, 40 calls a day. And within 24 hours, we get back to the person and give them a schedule when we can respond to it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything else, councilors? Okay.
And just the last time is just more of a notification for our community. I am in discussions with National Grid. We're hoping a representative can come, but it's largely, it's a good thing. They're working on a Bridgewater substation improvement project. It's gonna be for some length of time. It's from March this year, 2026 to fall of 2028. But essentially, we wanted to put it on the agenda to let people know that National Grid, they're going to see a lot more of a presence of National Grid. It's usually during business times of Monday through Friday, 7 to 4. So don't be alarmed as part of this substation improvement. But I do think it might have some traffic adjustments, possibly in the summer. So we're working on having a National Grid representative give us some more information. But I just want to keep people aware that they're going to start that project fairly soon.
Great. Any questions?
Just a quick question. I didn't quite catch the date that you mentioned. You went,
For the overall project?
yeah.
It's about March of this year, and then the completion of this substation project, because it's a multi-community thing, it's probably, they say fall 2028.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions, requests of councilors of our town manager for a future council meeting? Okay. Anything that comes up, please send our town manager an email. So we don't have any discussions on our agenda. Do we have any committee reports?
I'll just mention again to the councilors to work on your reviews for the town manager and then get them to Debbie as soon as they're done so we can compile the results.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move into legislation for action, beginning with Order FY 26-040, establishing a downtown facade improvement program and requesting Community Preservation Act funding. The Downtown Revitalization Committee voted 3-0 not to recommend at their March 5th meeting. So as the sponsor of this legislation, I'm just going to make a motion to rescind. It wasn't written in an appropriate way. I'm going to reintroduce something similarly in the form of a resolution to the effect of something that's going to be a little bit more effective. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll now move into Order FY 26-049, acceptance of a donation. This is for the High Pond Residents Association. Budget and Finance voted 3-0 to recommend at their February 9th meeting, and then the Finance Committee voted 8-0 to recommend at their March 2nd meeting. Anything further on this, Councilor Murphy?
No, nothing further. That was a long time ago.
Great. That being said, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Moved.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have Order FY 26-050, acceptance of a grant. This is for Old State Farm Trail Phase 4 readiness. The Finance Committee voted 8-0 to recommend at their March 2nd meeting. And then Councilor Murphy, please update on the Budget and Finance today.
Budget and Finance voted 2-0. We had 2 members in attendance this evening, so we voted 2-0 to recommend.
Great. And entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion made and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have Order FY 26-052, CPC additional funds, restoration of Parthenon Frieze. The Finance Committee voted 5-3 to recommend at their March 2nd meeting, and then Budget and Finance met earlier today. Councilor Murphy, one more time.
Yeah, Budget and Finance voted 2-0 to recommend.
Great. I won't speak for the Finance Committee, but I did watch their meeting. I think there was a little bit of a discussion regarding the process and the order of which this was brought about. And we did have Carlton Hunt come and speak to us regarding the process and what happened here. And the Budget and Finance Committee feels comfortable moving forward, and that's reflected in our recommendation 2-0. So I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and a second. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have Order FY 26-053, charter change ballot question. This is for Bridgewater Town Charter, Article 2, Legislative Branch, Section 213A, annual stipend. This measure was not referred to a committee. The time for that was, gosh, it was years ago when it was first entertained in 2021. It went through multiple committee referrals and a public hearing, and then, as we all know, and we had a great presentation from Mr. Valdi earlier, it went through the state legislative process and eventually signed by our governor. So we may act upon this tonight. So I will kind of open up the floor for discussion amongst our councilors or a motion. Councilor Lindy.
Not a motion at this point, but I just wanted to bring up the fact that what we're doing is what the charter says we should do, is to put the ballot, the question on the ballot for the voters to decide.
Thank you. Another comment?
Yes, I mean, again, this, the process has taken the time that it has. Again, the timing as it's coming back to us as a council and the voters as a town is certainly a difficult one. And again, I think all of us councilors hear, what the public is saying as far as the situation goes with the stipend. However, again, to go through the process, and even how the town attorney mentioned on that last particular one that's coming up, that we've already gone through the process to put it on a ballot situation, I think it's probably prudent for us to just put this on a ballot, let the people make the decision and go by that decision as far as the voters go. So I'd be in favor of just keeping it on the ballot and going through the process that we've gone through.
Thank you for that.
I just like to reiterate, from 2.5 years ago, I was against this and voted against it. I think I was one of the only members in the town council at the time, so nothing has changed since that time, other than our budget has gotten worse, and so this isn't something I will support at this time.
Okay. Anything further, councilors? Just a question for our town attorney. If this does go to a ballot, and due to the financial circumstances, I do not believe that such a measure would pass, but I think that democracy deserves to be heard, and people should voice their opinion at the ballot box. But if it does pass, does the council have an obligation to incorporate stipends into the budget? Or is it within their purview to defund that line item?
Well, you could defund your own line item, certainly.
So even though that a
could.
charter, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. You could work through that. I think there's some level of entitlement to that based on how it's written, because it does say certain members shall receive X amount. But there probably are some possibilities whereby this is adopted by the voters, and there's some mechanism from which this can't be funded.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's definitely something that could be explored. I don't want to give you a yes or no until you tell me specifically what you would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's certainly something that you could explore. I mean, the budget is the budget, right? This would have to be incorporated in the town manager's budget. I don't think the town manager could unilaterally look at this, which is now, part of the charter, and say, I'm not going to put it in my budget, but then you all have final approval on the appropriations under that budget. So, and this would directly impact you all. So there probably is some mechanism there to give the council presumably a little leeway.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to play devil's advocate, it kind of sounds like what 72% of the voters approved an audit that's never taken place at the State House. So I think the voters are the ultimate authority. They're the people that elect us or unelect us.
Sure, absolutely. Another question regarding this. There's been concerns brought up that counselors would be eligible for other benefits. Is that something, as this is written, or is there mass general law that stipulates that if counselors do receive a stipend that they're entitled to other benefits such as health insurance or pensions?
This is all we see that's written there. We haven't entered into any sort of employment contract with any town councilor, nor do I think this means you're employed by the town of Bridgewater. I think this means you're paid a stipend for the role that you do in the position that you're at.
Okay, because there was a story was told to me that years ago somebody was receiving a stipend as a selectman, I don't know if it was here or somewhere else, purely because they were receiving hefty health insurance benefits, and I just wanted to make sure that that was not a part of this.
This is not the town of Bridgewater employing any of you. This is the stipend that you receive for serving in your elected position, nothing more.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment on that piece. That was something that I remember discussing during our rules committee meeting back in the day, back 2 years ago. And I feel as though myself on the committee spent an enormous amount of hours just going through this and adjusting and editing. It went through several iterations. Some of those big things, like the ones you've just mentioned about benefits, how the pay would be received, when the pay would be received, how pay would be received if a counselor were to leave halfway through. All of that we tried to address as best as possible in here. But I will say that I think, well, I won't speak for former members, but I think it was very difficult for us to comprehend how we could pay somebody effectively without eventually running into some kind of issue or concern because of the way the money is being distributed. So we even looked at other comparable towns, and we didn't feel like language was strong on any comparable towns. And so that was just something I wanted to mention to folks that came up during the Rules Committee. Again, we tried to address it as best as possible with the language here, but it was always something that we were trying to make sure that we were comfortable with, knowing that there could be instances where a counselor leaves or is dismissed or recalled, and then I think we would put ourselves in a difficult situation at that point.
Okay.
Just one other question to the town attorney. So if we as a council decide not to put this on a ballot, do we violate Mass General law in any way by the process we've already gone through?
I think you violate your own ordinance, because this body's already voted to put it on the ballot.
That's my question.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you have an ordinance. In your ordinance, at the time it was voted, each one of these charter changes, and whoever composed the town council at that time, that council made it explicitly contingent upon council approval, state legislature approval, and the approval of the voters. This one in particular, you would want to put to the ballot anyway, because it's compensation for you all. But I believe the ordinance is pretty clear. The ordinance has gone through the whole legislative process here. It's in place. It's also gone through the legislative process at the State House, and it is explicit that is contingent upon voter approval. So I think you'd be violating your own ordinance.
Okay, that's just one
Yeah.
clarification. I appreciate
Yep.
that. Thank you.
Anything further from counselors?
That, that answers a question of mine as well. Whether or not we vote any of these down, because they've already been approved by our body and gone to the state after whatever time period that is, and now they are back here. This is solely to be put on notice correctly, to be put on a ballot. This is actually not voting to approve this.
It's already been approved. So there is no mechanism for changing this. There is no mechanism for doing anything to this other than placing it on the ballot. And by violating that ordinance and not allowing citizens to vote on it, I don't love that as your attorney. I don't love that idea. I think that could lead to a lot of different things. But this is clearly the ordinance, the way it was voted initially, was to send it to the voters.
Okay.
Which the body absolutely has the right to do. And that particular body that was in place at that time decided to do it that way.
Yeah, I don't think that it's our right or our place to stop it at this point.
I think this is a procedural thing that we have to kind of follow through with and put it on the
I
ballot.
just have a couple more brief.
Yeah.
I agree with Councilor Murphy. The language is lacking in how this is handled. And I'll also say, when I heard about this originally moving through a few years ago as a resident, not an individual on this body, I thought, wow, that's nice. The council's going to pay themselves. I will say, at least, it sounds like this needs to be moved forward. Having been on both sides and having that thought originally probably 5 years ago, the amount of work some counselors do is upwards of 30-plus hours, probably a week, whether it's our meetings twice a month here, multiple committees a month that we're all on. Also watching on YouTube, the Finance Committee, the Board of, the planning board, ZBA, historic committee, all the rest of the committees that are all on YouTube. I would hope any of my other fellow councilors are also watching those, and it's easily, if you put the effort and time in, you're well over 30 hours a week. And that doesn't include writing any ordinances with no team. You know, we're not representatives going to Washington. We are, at the moment, volunteers who are just citizens in Bridgewater, trying to do our best to help the town out. And I can tell you right now, I have an ordinance on here with President Loretti. I've been working on that since January. I have at least a full 40 hours into that ordinance, plus, along with an entire stack of MGL laws, charter review, like the amount of work involved in just a single piece of legislation to do it correctly, hopefully, is a lot. So as much as I didn't like this originally, and I'm not a huge fan of it either at the moment, I feel like my last question was kind of already answered as to whether or not it kind of needs to go through where we violate our own ordinance for the town. So it's kind of where I'm going to land on it.
Great. Anything further, councilors?
I just want to make the comment that we have to send it to the voters. That seems clear. I personally do not favor this. I feel like once you give politicians money, they start to vote themselves more money. And I just don't think it's a good precedent to set. However, regardless of that, I will be voting to send this to the voters.
Thank you. Anything further, councilors? We do need a motion. Is there a motion on the table? Motion to
So moved.
approve?
Second.
Motion to approve, Dr. Perry?
Yes.
And a second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll vote no,
No.
still, thank you.
Was that 6-1? 7 was here? 6-1, great. Okay, moving forward to the next ballot question. FY 26-054, charter change ballot question. Bridgewater Town Charter Article 4, Town Manager Temporary Absence. This measure was not referred to a committee, so we'll be able to act on this one tonight. So I think we already talked about whether or not procedurally this should go on. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
And
Second.
second for discussion. Thank you. Any further discussion on this one, folks?
Just similarly as the last one, I think it's just a completion of procedure that we have to do as a council to put on the ballot for the public to vote on and make a decision on.
Yeah, I agreed. I don't think it's our place to stop it this far along the process. It's been years in the making. So anything further? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have Order FY 26-055, Charter Change Ballot Question. This is for Bridgewater Town Charter, Article 3, Section 4.3, Elected Powers of Appointment. And for a question for our council clerk, I think this needs to be changed to Article 4. Is that right? Okay, so entertain a motion for an amendment changing this from Article 3 to Article 4.
So moved.
Motion made and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So thank you for that. We just amended the language there to reflect the appropriate article. And again, this is for elected powers of appointment. And one more time for our town council, the other measures said that they required a vote by the voters. This one didn't on the, what is it called, the parchment from the governor. So I just want to make sure we have to send it, which obviously we should because of how we voted in, but I just want to double check that wasn't omitted.
I'm not sure what came back from the governor, but what was originally voted in the proposed ordinance that I have that was certified by the town clerk says only become effective and is contingent upon approval by the town council, the state legislature, and the voters of the town of Bridgewater.
Great,
So
thank
I
you.
think the actual ordinance that got voted, I don't know, sometimes the thing that comes back isn't exact. is
It
what
was
gets
different than the other one, so
Yeah.
I was like, does this mean we don't have to vote on it?
And if you hadn't voted that, then that's definitely worth the discussion. But the one that I have certified by your town council clerk definitely has it in it.
Okay?
Yep.
Sounds good. Sorry, did somebody make a motion to approve yet?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second for discussion. Any further discussion on this one, Councilor Kennedy?
I just want to clarify for the public that's watching why we were able to amend something and please correct me if I'm incorrect on this. We made a clerical change, not a substantive change to the order, so that's the only reason why a number can be changed. It's not the substance of the order itself. I also had a citizen reach out to me about this article and about the appointment, how that works, and the question was whether or not the town council should do it or designate somebody instead of the town manager, and how that kind of process works. We can't amend this any further at the moment because of the process that we're in, but I would suggest that when we have the new committee up and running over charter changes, that anybody at all that has concerns, thoughts, and amendments to any part of our charter, please reach out to that committee and send it to them. It would be great to have for discussion. So that's all I got on this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything further, councilors? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have petition P 2026-018, town election warrant for April 25th, 2026. So this is just for the warrant. Anything further on this to our town manager?
No, nothing
Great,
further.
It's, as it kind of reads here. So this is all of the positions that are up for election, the District 1 seat, which is for 1 year, and then the other seats, which are regularly occurrence. And then we have the 3 ballot questions on here. So those all passed, so we don't need to amend this or anything like that. Do we have a motion for approval then?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And a second
And-
discussion?
Yeah, just a reminder, I believe if we do vote to approve that, to make sure the councilors sign this warrant at the end of the meeting.
Oh, great.
Please see Debbie.
There it goes. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Last up, we have proposed ordinance FY 26-008, proposed amendment to Part 3 of the Admin Code, Chapter 14, Article 1, Section 1. This is for dogs. And Councillor Hunt indicated at the last meeting that you had amendments. Did we receive those amendments in here?
Yes, I think the amendments are in here, aren't they, Sean? And I just marked some of them that I did a really poor job trying to send them to Sean so that he could know what I was thinking, which is always hard to know what I'm thinking. So on number 3, if you're looking on page 82 of 102, if councilors are looking there. 82 of 102. The last sentence in number 3, kind of at the center of the page, informing the dog's recipient of the dog, apostrophe, dogs, and then take out of the, and then dangerousness finding. So informing the dog's recipient of the dog's dangerousness finding, that would be one of the changes. The very first change is the one right under page 24, number 2, at the very top of the page, where it says complaint. The next one I saw, because some of the things didn't get eliminated that I thought would be eliminated. So 4, if a hearing authority or a district court has deemed the dog to be and then I put danger and eliminated dangerous dog, but to be a danger, and it wounds a person or worries and wounds and kills livestock. So that's what that would read. And in the 4th sentence down, this kind of the second from the end, in the 3rd sentence where it says, order it shall appear that it was, and then get rid of the word made, that it was that it was made without proper cause or in bad faith. So just the word made instead of to have been made, just made without proper cause. Then in the one after de novo, just take out, I wrote that in there, recognizing that it's a foreign tongue. It needs to be in italics. And at the very bottom, where it says fines/imprisonment, line number 3 at the end, and then it should say 60 days.
Mr. President?
Yep.
Point of clarification. Is this time sensitive? Do we have to do it tonight, or can we understand what we're voting on? Because I don't.
No, it's certainly not time sensitive. This would be to go to advertising. I wonder if maybe the two of you could, this is just my opinion, take these amendments and just put it all together.
So, to kind of comment on that, Councilor Hunt did send me her suggestions. I agree with all of her suggestions. In our packet, we have a page, at the top of the page, it says Councilor Hunt proposed ordinance changes. It's at the back of all of the dog language. These are minor edits that don't also change anything substantive with here, so either we continue to hold it here or we send it to advertising and make a final amendment before we publish it. But this doesn't change anything outside of minor language clarifications. So that would be up to the council, obviously. But after reviewing it, there were no, to give an example of the tethering, well, that's an MGL, but if we were going to discuss an issue like that here and then decide how many hours, that would be a big change here. These are just deleting a word and then changing the way it flows. It doesn't actually substantially change anything. So
if we refer to advertising, when do we have the opportunity to amend it?
my understanding was if it's a minor edit before it's voted on, then that's acceptable. But if you have a substantial change after it goes to advertising, then it needs to go advertising again.
Okay.
So
I would be in favor of that then.
Just minor. It is just minor change.
Yeah, it seems minor. Just think that it's hard to follow where to put this back.
I'll take this, and the next time we vote on it, I'll try to lay out Councilor Hunt's edits in a way that is easier to read on black and white paper.
Yeah, because the colors aren't there. So cool.
So just a question to Mr. President, to Marilee. So is the bold words in your edits what's in it, and then we're taking out the bold words to go with? Can you just tell me that so I get clarification?
Right, so are you on page 82?
I'm just looking at your, 82,
yes.
your edits.
Contending is yes, that should be there. In number 3, it should be the word dog, which isn't in dark letters, with an apostrophe S, and then take out of the and leave dangerousness. Do you see what I mean?
Informing the dog, recipient of the dog of the dangerous, okay. All right, so I just wondered so the bold is a word that's staying, or bold that's a word that's coming out?
Usually it's staying,
Okay,
only not there, yes. So there it's staying. In the next one, the word danger stays, and the word after it goes.
okay.
And then you take out dog, and so danger and it is how that sentence goes.
Okay, that's fine. Again, it's
very
minor.
It's very simple.
It's minor
But-
language changes.
But in the
so-
very last one, in the 4th, you leave in made and take out have been made.
Okay. That's fine. Again, simple,
Yeah, it was
minor
sim-
language
it's sim-
changes
It's just simple,
to make it more
yeah.
English appropriate, so I guess.
Yeah.
So I've got no problem with it.
Yeah, I think once we compile into one document, that will all be kind of
I'd like to
good,
move it
good
along to
go.
advertising.
Yeah, let's move it along to advertising if someone wants to make that
Get it going
motion.
on.
You want to make that motion?
I will make a motion, number 1, to approve the amendments as written, and then send it to advertising.
Any second?
Should that be 2 separate motions?
All right, so we'll do the
All
amendment
right,
first.
amendment first, motion for the amendments.
And a second?
Second,
Second. Any further discussion?
I think that we should have this all in a document all together and not being piecemeal like right now. I know you've done tremendous work on this, but I just feel that for the clarity of publication, advertisement, it should be in its proper
oh,
order.
it should definitely be in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like it was, I think it was nice of Sean to
Again, it's just simple English.
separate it
edits.
out here so you could look at it easily instead of having to look at the
Yes, I
whole
think
thing.
once these amendments, if they are approved, we'll get a final amended version set to advertise, correct?
Yes.
And there is one on the back. I forgot there's one on the back page. That's about the kennel.
Yeah.
They're in here,
Oh.
so I think they just need to be inserted into the
That one was just
into the
that I wanted
language.
to make sure that he checked with the town clerk on it before he put it in.
On the last page here.
Yeah.
83.
So was your motion to amend pursuant to the page that
It was
Ms.
just
Hunt
the one
has?
page, yes, the page 82.
82, okay.
82.
And everyone has that before them?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we don't have the edits that she just read out loud.
No.
Right.
Are those included on the document?
They're on page 82.
Yeah, it's after the.
So you're gonna wanna make sure your council clerk knows exactly what you're amending,
Yeah.
because otherwise I don't know how she'd put it
She has
in the
some edits
minutes.
that are in bold on there, but she has other edits in front of her in pencil that she wrote, that she just spoke to. So we don't have a completed document of all the,
Well, if she's got any other changes that she's written down, right,
Right.
I don't have that.
I was writing notes to myself, so they are notes that go on.
but you had mentioned things in here on your sheet that are not on our sheet. Correct?
So this is what I.
So I'll bring it back to order. So I guess the question is, are your edits complete?
But I know that that's what I say, take it out.
I just think there needs to be clarification on what
Take it out,
the
take
motion
it
to
out.
amend relates to, that's all.
Yeah, Counselor Hunt, are your edits complete on page 82?
Say it again, I'm
As,
sorry.
as the edits are written on page 82, are they complete?
I think there's a point of order. I think there's a lack of definition as to what those actual edits are because of the formatting on the page. And I just reiterate that I don't think that they're pertinent, whether or not those are in there for advertising. I think they are. But again, it's in an effort to expedite it, just to get it moved along. I think that a final amendment after advertising with this language would be appropriate because it's so minor. So I'm not sure that the amendments right now, as much time as we are taking on this,
Right.
is
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Shouldn't waste
But I
any
have absolutely no problem working with Counselor Hunt to ensure that the amendments themselves at the final reading are clarified for the entire council.
Okay, so
I
you
agree,
wanna
it doesn't
rescind your,
change anything.
rescind your motion to amend it as it is now, and then we'll send it to advertising as it was published, and then we'll bring amendments forward once we are at that.
Makes sense to
the
me.
next
I'll
meeting.
rescind that,
That's-
the motion.
That's probably prudent.
All right, so a motion to send it without the edits to advertising, then we'll make those minor amendments at that,
So
at that
then,
meeting.
Second.
All right.
so wait a second, let me clarify. We send it without the amendments
No.
for advertising? Okay, okay,
Make the small amendments later.
Yeah, we're gonna make a small
Okay.
amendment once it comes back
all right.
to advertising. All right, any further discussion?
The only thing I really want to just check, because I just wanted to ask Sean if he did check it with the town's council clerk before he put in,
Yeah, did you wanna ask Sean a question about, you
yeah,
have an 83?
the one for the council clerk on the back,
Town council clerk or town clerk?
the town clerk, I'm sorry.
Counselor had a question for you about checking
Just,
the
you
town
did
clerk.
check that with Tina
Which I haven't,
on the,
oh, your
On the-
question? No.
yeah, there's another page.
No, I did not check that with the town clerk. I only sent back my questions that we're all having right now as to
Okay.
what was changed and not changed. So,
All right, we ready to vote, send this advertising, we'll make those small amendments later on? Yeah?
I don't think it's been seconded.
I'll second it. I did second it.
Oh, I'm
once-
sorry, I thought we had a second.
Once already.
Counselor
I
Hunt
did.
seconded
I
it.
seconded it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One no, how many noes? Two noes? Okay, thank you. 5-2.
Yep.
Okay, we do not have any old business. We do have some new business, Order FY 26-056, contract amendment for the town manager. I will ask our town manager to introduce this one.
I was going to introduce.
Oh, you want to
it.
introduce? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Did you bring it forward? After you.
This is something that our town manager had come forward to talk to me about. Our town manager came forward and offered kindly to, in line with the other proposals that we've seen, both in our collective bargaining agreements and with town staff, he has chosen to forego 1.5% of his expected raise this year. That was to be tied to his performance review. The performance review will still go on as planned. but it will not have that tie of 1.5% to it. As I had mentioned, the town manager has decided and offered to forego that. In exchange, he has asked that we allow for additional carryover for vacation time, as the town manager had mentioned to me during the conversation that he has had limited time off due to the reduced staff, no assistant town manager, and just the work in nature that has happened throughout our town over the last 8 or 9 months. So I wanted to recognize the town manager for doing that and the leadership of coming forward to do that in a time when our budgets are tough and tight. I just think that shows and demonstrates a willingness to be able to work with our town and allow us a little more flexibility on the other side. And then as it pertained to the vacation piece, I think a lot of folks, and I won't speak for other counselors, but the constraints and the negotiations that happened were to establish a contract for somebody who we didn't know or weren't able to have worked with previously. I think having worked with you over the past 8 or 9 months, I think you've demonstrated your commitment to the town and this role. And so that's why I felt like this was a great opportunity for us to negotiate both your decrease or not taking that raise and then adding additional vacation days. And it's a very small amount. It's 10 additional vacation days added to that. And it's just rollover. It's not additional days. So to make that distinction, the town manager has asked that those roll over annually.
Great, thank you for that introduction. So I would, we should keep this at the town council level. I'll take a motion to keep it at a town council level.
So moved, second.
Second by Dr. Perry. Any further discussion on this, councilors?
I'll just add to Paul's sentiments that I think it's in light of what our financial situation is, it's a very generous move by the town manager to do this, and in line with other contracts that we're trying to get in line to take small cuts or small raises as well. But I'm in agreement with this as well.
Agreed. I want to just second that. Just for
I think we are unanimous in that support.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think this is what, sorry to take the words from you guys, but yeah, I think we're unanimous in that support. Yeah, this is what leadership looks like. Yeah, I think that leaders eat last, right? If you're going to ask everybody else to take a little bit less, how can you take more, right? So I commend our town manager for doing that. He does not receive a step increase. This would be a COLA adjustment. So this is literally a zero year to year. And I think, like I said, that's what leadership really looks like. So I commend you for that. So that being said, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have proposed ordinance FY 26-013, adopting Chapter 220, Article 3, Water Supply Capacity and Development Review. I worked on this with Councilor Kennedy. He did a lot of the legwork and took the lead on this, and I stepped in, and it was a pleasure working on something so important with you. So I would ask you to introduce this to everybody.
All right, so we have an ordinance in front of us for water supply capacity and development review. It's going to add language to the amendment code. The purpose of this is to set a metric that gives our town guidance on water permitting. It also requires water permitting process to start in the beginning of the process. There's quite a bit of language in here, but the goal of this is to basically take the firm capacity of what the town has, which is the actual day-to-day operational capacity of our wells, and subtract the loss of our largest well in the system as an emergency mechanism. And that becomes the ceiling or the base starting point as to whether or not we have water or not have water to continue building in town. So this language is designed to work appropriately and not conflict with zoning ordinances. The reason that this route was taken by myself, as opposed to other suggestions that have been out there, such as a building moratorium or just a water moratorium, there's a few reasons for that. One, building moratoriums as a policy for a town can be fought with a lawsuit. In other words, if you just have a policy by the town that says, we don't want more building, that will lead to, without a reason behind it, is going to lead to lawsuits potentially. And without having a cap on that, you're even more exposed. If you don't say, we don't want to build for a year or two. You also can't have a moratorium specific to a certain type of building. So if you wanted to, say, have more commercial and have a moratorium on residential, you'd violate zoning at that point because that's under the purview of how we do zoning itself. So that's a component. As the water moratorium goes, from what I was able to find, the water moratorium needs some kind of stopgap in there, or stopping point. So you need to tie it to production points with the town or specific development timelines, and even those seem to be a bit murky. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. So the goal for this is to use Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 54, which gives independently requires available water before a building permit may issue. That water, that makes water capacity review, it makes the water, it allows the town to regulate our infrastructure, water, what have you. So that's, if anyone wants to read it, that's Chapter 40, Section 54. I have a pile of other language that backs it up, but I'll open this up to questions from councilors because it is quite a long thing. And I appreciate the work as well, Mr. President, on providing edits in this and collaborating on it.
Yeah, thank you. We put a lot of time into this and very happy with what we came up with. So it's a long one, but does anybody have any questions on this?
Thank you, Mr. President. So just ultimately, as you know, getting the details, so this is the ordinance itself, and I see at the tail end, it's administered by the town manager with determinations prepared through the DPW and the water superintendent. So they're making the call whether or not a particular project can go through based on the water situation.
Yes, and there's mechanisms in here that trigger this to occur. So it's not just decided arbitrarily. There are certain metrics that will trigger a study to be done.
And that's, so that would request any particular developer to formulate a water study to see what the impact is to the town with that particular project.
Yep.
Before any type of approvals can go forward or permits given.
Exactly. Any further questions or comments?
I just have a question. Were you all able to work with our town attorney on this? Was that reviewed?
It was reviewed early on. A lot of the edits that were suggested, there was different style edits. Some of them were just charter-based alone, who designates what. Obviously, anything that is going on is going to go through the town manager to his designee, so it was primarily language there. Some of it was who actionable things. I've also talked to our attorney as to moving forward with this, if there are any more recommendations as well on this particular version. I would anticipate if this were to move forward and go through rules of procedure, prior to that, reaching out with the town to ensure that the correct process and mechanism is used through the permitting process and making sure that there's a catch point specifically in that process where this is engaged as needed, to be more defined. The two big takeaways that I have from this, do you have any more questions? Sorry.
No.
Okay.
I was just I'll just wrap it up and commend you both for writing this, because I think you've tackled something that's been difficult for us to tie down for a long time, so I appreciate the time and effort that both of you put into this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Sean?
Just that we do have a trigger for the water impact study. This does capture anything that is going to start using water in town to be evaluated. And from our last presentation with Apex, some of the line of questioning on my end was to narrow down industry standard terminology like firm capacity as a component, and how that's used with the state as well, and how that's recognized, because we actually had other language in here that was almost a creation of our own to capture what firm capacity basically does in essence. So I appreciate the work, Johnny, and the help on there. So like I said, this has been slowly in the works. The town manager has also reviewed it. We've discussed this and how this works going forward. I'm more than happy also to continue working with the town manager on this as well. I don't think there's any disagreement that we shouldn't, if we don't have water, we should not be able to permit more water usage. And according to Mass General Law, it is within our purview to do this. And one more point I'll make on this as well. I'll try to keep this short because I know it's getting along. There is a component with moratoriums and the MBTA grant money. If we have a moratorium in place in some way, we're basically excluded from grant money.
Right.
Something was brought to my attention today that if something like a bylaw affects over 5% of potential building, that could also trigger it. So going to speak again to our town attorney and hopefully at length about how that would work, as well as the town manager, and either sort out which lane we're going to pick. Either we don't have language on something like this so that we can get the grant money potentially, or we have language like this and we look to have some kind of arbitration or have a representative or somebody go to the state for us and speak on that component, because the language written in that grant carve-out for MBTA funding is, I'm assuming, in my opinion, was written to make sure that a town couldn't get out from underneath it. But our problem is not getting out from underneath it. It's a real problem, and it needs to be addressed. And the grant money is supposed to be for infrastructure. So we have a catch-22 with a state law and a grant funding problem where they're giving grants, awarding them for being compliant. But if you actually have a true emergency like ours, you may not get the grant money for doing what you should do based under MGL. So that's going to be a conversation that we have hopefully very soon. But I think the foundation for this itself is pretty solid, and I'm pretty happy with it where we are right now moving forward. So
Great. Sure.
We're at 10 o'clock, so I'd like to make a motion to continue the meeting past 10 o'clock.
Thank you. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah,
Motion
me.
carries.
No.
Motion still carries. Anything further before we vote to refer to rules and procedures?
Yeah, just a quick question. So, again, appreciate your work on this, guys. It seems like it's a lot of work. Is this replacing any existing language in our admin code on how we're handling this so far? Is this basically kind of new groundbreaking type of language that we're
it
introducing?
slides in where it
Slides into Article, Chapter 220, Article 3.
It slides into that particular spot with the water admin code. It doesn't change anything. The only conflicts that may arise is specific conflicts with the processes for, say, the planning board and their rules. But their rules are going to need to comply with our rules because we're not changing zoning or anything like that. So that's going to be another conversation that's going to need to be had.
That was my thought
Yeah.
process, is that, right now, I think it goes through a planning board decision whether or not asking for, water impact studies and things of
Yeah.
that nature. So I think there's got to be a melding of the two.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion to refer to rules and procedures?
So moved.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Next up, we have zoning ordinance DFY 26-014, amendments to Central Business District regulations. So this is something that I was working on for a number of months as well. I had the pleasure of working with town staff, and Councilor Perry also met on a meeting, and I worked closely with Pat Driscoll, who's the chair of the planning board on this. And there's a lot of amendments here. Hopefully, everybody can follow along. The words that are in bold are being added to the existing ordinance, and those are the changes. If we need an entire red line, I'd be happy to provide that to the council. But what it does effectively is it codifies the process moving forward for the Central Business District in regard to approval, where it was previously with the CED. This is now going to be with the planning board if it, again, passes as it is written. I also have some proposals here to reduce the maximum stories, which are, depending upon where you're at 4 stories and 5, down to 3.5. We do not need to debate that now. It's just something that's being proposed. So I look forward to that being worked out in committee. And there's a few other items here that address minimal amount of commercial space so that we do have actual commercial space and not just a small storefront with how you call it, elevated parking in the back. We want, a clear amount of commercial space required. We want commercial on the first floor. We want some residential on the 3rd floor. We don't want it to be too tall, and we want it to go through the planning board. And that effectively, this hopefully does all of that. So unless anybody has any questions, I'll look to refer this to planning board and the CED committee.
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion to refer. Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this one?
Just to thank you again for putting it all together and working through it. I know it was a lot of work, a lot of edits, a lot of small edits in here, so thank you for that.
Edits. I hope that everybody could follow along. If you have any questions, please let me know. And it was a team effort, so I want to thank everybody that worked with me on this. Anything further? Okay. All those in favor of referring, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And the last one that I have here is a proposal of Resolution FY 26-008, establishing a timely and transparent process for consideration of the Charter Review Committee recommendations. So this is a resolution which does talk about a process, and the process didn't get attached. So I'm going to talk to my town council clerk about getting that process actually attached here. But what it does effectively is it establishes a timeline of when when the Charter Review Committee deliberates and they bring their recommendations back to the council. It encourages us to act within a certain period of time, whether or not we're going to recommend or not recommend those recommendations moving forward. It does resolve to empower the Rules and Procedures Committee, as it should be, to weigh in on those suggestions. So that process, I'm sorry, is not attached here, but we'll get that attached for the next one. But it does basically, encourage our Charter Review Committee that we are going to take all of the recommendations very seriously, and we do have a process that we're going to put our weight behind and encourage to move those recommendations along so that we're a little more efficient than we were 6 years ago. So does anybody have any questions on this? And I would just entertain a vote to retain at the council level.
Just a quick question, but I think I know the answer. Why a resolution and not an order?
It was recommended to me to make it a resolution. I don't know if can it be an order to our town council?
This is the first I'm seeing it. I'd have to look at it. But so long as there's not contradictory portions of it as it relates to the charter or any of your existing ordinances, it probably could be an ordinance.
Order ourselves to do something?
You could.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're just creating a process for yourself. You've done that a couple other times in some other contexts, so you probably could do that if that's what you want to commit yourself to. I'll need to look at it and just make sure it doesn't contradict anything.
Okay.
Relative to that, though.
Did you have something, Councilor Lindy?
No. Does that mean we should retain it at the council level?
Yeah, we could retain at council level, and if, is anybody opposed to making this an order? No? So maybe I make that, go ahead.
I would just say, well, again, without your other portion of this, as far as the
part.
procedure, it's hard to kind of determine whether there should be an order or the resolution, but I would think if, we're going to be discussing it and keeping it at a council level, at least we can start it as a resolution, but potentially change it to an order down the line. So.
Okay, so I'll, at their next council meeting, come back with an amendment which has the actual process attached, and then maybe we entertain making an order at that point in time.
I was going to suggest we continue, if possible. Just continue it.
Yeah.
Oh, instead of, if we keep it at council level, then we would just continue it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Motion to keep it at council level.
Okay.
We'll vote.
Second.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, whatever.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, so we are now towards the end here. We are up to our second citizen comment period. Due to Massachusetts open meeting law requirements, discussions will not take place during public comment periods. If appropriate, responses to questions and concerns will be given by the town manager at a future town council meeting. Anyone may come up at this time and speak for up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Steph D'Amelia, Harvest Lane. I'm just going to start off by, forgive me for seeming a little frustrated, but I know when we went into a water emergency, one of the things that was talked about is a temporary water filtration trailer being looked into. I heard numbers of 100,000 a month per. We might need 2. They don't do PFAS, so we worked on this for a while. The Apex presentation last week or so started talking about a pad with a roof over it. I called it a gazebo. It's, Mr. Davis told me that that was wrong. Cabana, it's not a pavilion. I've heard water vessel, and now I'm hearing it's a shed. Okay, fine. Let's call it a shed. According to Mr. Davis, these are readily available because he sees them all the time in all the municipalities he's ever worked in. So when we had a water emergency, these water sheds that are scattered throughout the Commonwealth that people have worked on in every community that he's ever worked in, you can understand why we're in a water emergency. And I appreciate all the hard work of trying to come down the road and preventing this from ever happening again. But at this time, every single person in this town is being affected. Every single person, since the day the emergency came out, if not even before. I'm blown away that we're not all on board trying to find out an immediate fix, whether it be temporary or permanent. This is insanity. A shed is available and we don't know about it. We're still getting pricing on it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. We're talking about dog leashes, which I agree 100%. I love dogs. I have dogs. We're in a water emergency, from people that are born today to people that are 100 years old, and every single person in this town, every student, every prisoner, every person that comes into this town goes to work here. What are we doing? There's not even one piece of equipment that we talked about. We're going to start digging the pipes from 10A, 10B to High Street. Nope, forget it. Throw that aside too. This is a circus. This is an embarrassment. I don't know if anybody watched the Middleborough Town Hall meeting last night. That's how you run a meeting. We got embarrassed there last night. And it's driving me crazy. Get some answers. Get some numbers. Get the sheds. Do something. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry to be, frustrated. I'm not like this normally. But every time we come to this town council meeting, it's more of the same. It's more of the same. No answers. What are we doing? I don't know. I apologize.
Thank you.
Carlton Hunt, 80 Austin Street. I think we're doing a hell of a lot. The fact that we got water from Middleborough allowed the tanks to be filled, which has allowed the public safety be developed because we could deliver water for the fire station. That allowed 2 wells to be repurposed. That's bit progress. It also allowed the fact that 10A and 10B will have a treatment plant. Call it a shed, bullshit. It's a treatment plant. It has units that are professionally designed that will be installed. That's going to happen in the next few months. That's not getting anything done. That's getting a hell of a lot done. And the last thing is, it's not a shed. It's a building that it's enclosing it. Thank you. Now, I'm off my post. It's good to have a resolution to go forward to the town, to have the Charter Review Committee, because I was on one. It's good to have a process. But how are you going to control the fact that a state legislature had it sit in his desk for 3 years? You can't control that, but you can control the town. So be careful of what you're asking for in a resolution. The last one that I'm going to say, if you bring, any counselor brings anything that has to do with the CPC before this committee without talking to the CPC committee for advice, which we do provide, it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jana Hanson, Pleasant Street. I just want to make sure that I can get answers to my questions that I had when I spoke up earlier about the, if we had enough, it was my nutshell question. Do we have enough water for the current demand and the pre-approved when they get online? Do we have enough water? And when the water emergency ends, some year or day from now, will we have adequate at that point? Will there be a waiting period? You know, okay, water emergency ends today, everybody can hook up tomorrow. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I think we need to find that out. You know, when will people be allowed to hook up when the emergency is done? And hopefully it's not, you have to make sure everything is filled and working well before everybody starts. So I'd like answers to that. And as far as the dog ordinance, I was there watching this. It was so confusing for all of you that I don't think it should have even gone to advertising. I know it's not a big thing, and I don't see there's any rush to do this dog ordinance. I think it should have been written up, and then everybody look at it. Public could even see it because it'll be attached to the agenda, and then you could have looked at it and then sent it to advertising. Everybody was confused, so why send it to advertising? And I do support the FY 26014 on the form, changing the ordinance. That's the one, right? I thank you for that very much. Hopefully that will go through and get the planning board back on there. And then as far as the Charter Review Committee resolution, I would have preferred to see it as an order. It should just be a given. You know, that's part of the charter review. That is part of it. It should be in a timely manner. It can't be waiting 6 years, and it wasn't totally the government's legislation's fault on that. So to me, that should be part of it. So I don't understand why it's not, but if it's an order, it'd be better than a resolution because it has more teeth. But I thank everybody for everything, and happy St. Patty's Day.
Thank you, Mrs. Hanson. And if I'm going off of memory, but I believe Councilor Dr. Perry asked our DPW director, once these mitigation plans are in place with our treatment units, would we be at our permitted capacity of 1.86 million gallons per day? I'm being correct, right?
Yes, yeah, I asked that question at the last meeting.
And he did assure us that that would be the case, so we would be at our permitted capacity, and that would be enough to sustain our current users and those pre-approved projects. That is also assuming that all of the work that we're doing on those wells, that they all stay online and that we're able to keep them running at their expected efficiencies. So I just want to answer that while we did have that answer available to you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm done talking.
Gina Gasconi, Wall Avenue. Just a few things I've jotted down after listening to the meeting tonight, and no special order. It's just the way I put them down. First is the library. Like all of us, I'm just sad to see it closed, but I do understand after Chad gave his reasoning. My question for that to you folks might know, or to the library staff, is our certification affected? So I know it was borderline before with a waiver for less hours. Now that Saturdays are closed completely, where does our certification start? Is it affected? Is being part of the sales program affected if we lose our certification? I would just say to see that happen to our library. Next, nothing on the stipends, nothing against you folks. You do a great job. I personally wouldn't want to be a counselor just for the hours you put in. I mean, the agenda packet for tonight's meeting was over 100 pages. To be honest, I read halfway through and started skimming it and said, yeah, that's nice. So nothing against you folks. And I realize this was put forth when the town was in better financial shape. I just think this isn't the time now. It was, I think Mr. Evaldi said, it would attract more qualified people. And to quote Mrs. Hanson, it's a slap in the face to you folks that have volunteered, have put your time in, are qualified to do what you're doing. Mr. Evaldi also said the total dollar amount is a mere pittance. He might not have said mere, but it's a pittance to the overall budget. But could we look at it too and say one teacher's salary is a mere pittance? Not putting one more important, we're looking at cutting teachers for the second, possibly third year in a row. So to look at it that way too, everything's a mere pittance. My Parks and Recreation budget, which is like that big, could be said it's a mere pittance. So for that, I would like to, thanks for all the updates, especially for the water update. I understand Stefan's frustration, but I think we are moving forward. Might be small steps, but we are moving forward on it. I would like to thank the town manager for going his race and commend him for, if we're asking teachers, police, fire, whoever, to cut back, I commend you, Justin, for cutting back, showing that he's working with the town, the budget. Last thing, to reiterate what Carlton said, I don't get to a lot of council meetings, but when I do and I try to keep up, I've heard for CPC, I've heard it mentioned in a resolution for a couple times after we even said to CPC how it works. This, I'm not sure, President Reddy, if it was a resolution of what that you're reworking that mentions community preservation funding. Again, CPC is always willing to listen, to answer questions. I would much rather see CPC approached and answer the questions rather than it come to the council, it's debated, goes back. At least coming to us for the facts would, in my mind, would help and clarify things. I think
Gina, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're beyond the 3 minutes.
I was just going to say, from my scribbling, I think that's about it. You're supposed to wave like.
Thank you.
Sorry, I know it's late, can't let you off the hook here. Bob Cormier, Grange Park. Well, good evening. Obviously, it's been a long meeting. I just want to take a minute to say it's genuinely refreshing to see this much meaningful legislation in one meeting. You got a tremendous amount of work done tonight, and it's things that really move the needle for town. Couple comments in particular. Order D13. Obviously, I've been the sacrificial lamb because of the lack of this type of legislation. I just want to commend you, Sean, for doing a lot of legwork on this. It's very complicated. I would even take it a step further and make sure that you really reiterate in committee when this needs to take place, which should be before it's even before a planning board. It's going to mitigate risk to the town. It's transparent to developers. It's very important that that's done first, and it eliminates a lack of resources and time allocation from the planning board. On Order D14, I know there's been a ton of comments here. The proposed amendments are very strong. You're requiring 80% ground floor commercial, 3.5 stories, minimizing building envelope, and most importantly, goes back to the planning board for final decision. Contrary to popular belief, I fully support all of those. If I have the opportunity to come sit with you guys pending April, I would absolutely vote for this. There's a lot of things you could do to even take it a step forward. But that path seems pretty clear there. And then if these two orders are ratified, Sean, I know you talked to this, but it's effectively a building moratorium, but it's done the right way. And we can talk more about why that is, but I just want to thank you, Councilor Kennedy and Councilor Loretti, and not because we're buddies or any of the other ridiculous things you hear on social media, but to me, this is what leadership looks like. This is a room that can lean very heavily on complaints, and we do a lot of talking, but that's very actionable leadership and took a tremendous amount of work. And then finally on order 56, seeing the town manager voluntarily reduce a COLA, that sends an incredibly strong message. It's leading from the front. You don't ask your people to do things you're not willing to do yourself. And whether someone resides here or not, they can still invest in the community, and he's made a personal investment in doing that, and I respect that greatly. But most importantly, I hope that sets the tone. And I had a mentor that told me you don't count other people's money. That I don't think applies to municipalities by nature, but we can break the rule here, and I think it's very reasonable that when a leader steps up like that, we should have a reasonable expectation to expect others to follow suit, especially in some recently negotiated contracts. I think at a time when there's a lot of negativity around, there's a tremendous amount of work done tonight, and just want to say thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, John Donna, 261 South Street. I'm not here to advocate one way or another over the stipend, but I just want to thank you all for the work that you put in. I share the same thoughts Mr. Cormier just said. There's definitely, the council here has the town in mind, and I know it's more than just these council meetings. It's the committee meetings you're on, the committees you're on as well, all the emails and texts you get that you respond to. And I just want to, personally, I thank you for all the work that you put in. I also want to recognize President Loretti and Councilor Kennedy for the D13 ordinance. I think it addresses a lot of the concerns that we heard in the public forum last week. I know personally I've got up here several times and I've expressed my concerns about excessive building, especially residential housing, and the concern for water, the class size. And I think this ordinance definitely puts the mechanism in place where we can have a reasonable process to stop the out-of-control building. I mean, I just can't see how this excessive building is not mainly attributable to this water crisis we have. So I think this is great news, this ordinance. I hope it goes through. I just heard about it tonight. I think it's a great idea. It's just what this town needed. And Councilor Kennedy, I'm not a resident of your district, but again, I want to congratulate the voters, because I know if this is coming from you, it's definitely in the interest of the town. So thank you very much all for your hard work.
Thank you.
Good evening, Rachel King, School Committee Chair. Would the Town Council be so inclined to allow me to speak as a non-resident?
Yeah, we'll just, do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion
Second.
to allow.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I just wanted to note some upcoming Bridgewater-Rainham School Committee budget dates. As you know, we're in the middle of our budget cycle. We're nearing the end of our budget cycle. We did host the public hearing on March 11th, where I presented our proposed budget for the communities to watch. It is on our website as well. Following that public hearing, we do have that joint meeting tomorrow, which President Loretti mentioned earlier. At that joint meeting with the two towns and the school committee, we will discuss and review the CLA operational audit. So I encourage people to either come out for that or watch it. That will also be put on our YouTube channel for people to watch after the fact. Following that, we do have our vote to approve the budget on Wednesday, March 25th at the high school at 7 p.m. So again, I encourage people to keep an eye on that, come to that meeting, watch that as well. All of our budget presentations, as well as our budget book, which is our entire budget, which is something Mr. Lindy had requested also. The budget book and that operational audit, they're all on our district website under the budget tab. So there's a lot of information there as well. And if any town council members have questions, please reach out to myself or Superintendent Powers. So thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Okay, thank you all very much for coming tonight and staying through our lengthy meeting, but like some folks said, we got a lot done, which was great. So we'll now move into council comments. I'll start with Councilor Kennedy tonight. Go the other way around. You ready?
Sure. I want to thank the public for coming out again. I want to thank my fellow councilors. I don't have a lot. It's been a long meeting. You know what? Come back around to me because I do have a date of something I need to announce and I can't remember it because I usually last.
You can come back.
I will come back to me.
All right. Councilor Ellenberg.
Thank you for everyone who came out, those who left earlier, everybody who came. And thank you to Councilor Kennedy for his work on this and Councilor Loretti. This is a very good ordinance. It's not a moratorium, but it is close to a moratorium. So it's about as good as we can get with not getting in trouble with the MBTA grant writing factor. So, Councilor Kennedy, you did an excellent job, and that's all for now. Good night.
Thank you. Dr. Perry?
Thank you. Again, great meeting and a lot of great turnout tonight. I want to thank the library director, the HR director, and the IT director for coming on out. They gave great reports on the town manager report and gave some great information. So it was great, good to hear. Obviously, they're all doing a lot with little manpower and little resources. So I give them all credit for the work that they do. Just a comment in general, as we all know, there's all sorts of debate and information, whether it be true or not, on social media. We are working very hard, very diligently to come up with some solutions. The town manager is working very hard. Everyone's working very hard. There are solutions in place. These vessels, again, as we asked earlier, they are more of a permanent solution. They're not a temporary. They're being engineered to do what they need to do to filter the iron, the manganese, and PFAS. It takes time to engineer, and the costs of what these vessels are going to be are still to be determined based on that engineering. So the plans are in place. They will be in place shortly. I just want people to not dwell on what's maybe gone on in the past and just dwell more on what's going on in the future here. We're making strides. We have the connection with Middleborough. Again, if it needs to be extended, there'll be talks to extend that relationship. If the town needs it, I'm sure Middleborough will work with us to do so. But we're putting a quicker time frame as possible to get these fixes in place. And if all goes well according to plan from what we've heard with the last meeting and the information we heard today, we're going to be able to get up to the amounts of water that the town needs to move forward, which would include some development. Again, whether it be the Friendlies area project or any other, project that's in the loop, we can't stop progress completely. We still need development in order to fund this town. As you're about to hear as we go through the budget process, there's not a lot of money. There's not a lot of wiggle room going on here. The growth from last fiscal year to this fiscal year is minimal. All right? It's less than, probably in that 2 to 3% range. And what you're about to hear, we're going to get from the school committee, his, request for money is a lot more than that. So you can't stop progress completely in the sense that we need to move forward to develop some things that are going to generate more tax revenue for this town. So all the pieces are going in place as best as they can. I want people to be, just hang in there a little bit longer. We're working hard to make those strides and those things that need to be done to move us forward as a town. Responsibly, this council's working hard, like you say, on legislation to help that situation going forward. We're doing everything we can. So keep it positive. Talk about the positives. Dwell on the good things that are coming up and going forward. Try not to hang your hats on the negative. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
No, I'll flip
Nothing
out.
tonight?
This guy said enough.
Councilor Hunt?
I pretty much feel like that. I was going to say if Councillor Kennedy has his place, I'll cede to him if he's ready.
I am, thank you. I'm going to get a phone call from Kitty if I don't do this. For those of you that like outdoor stuff, if anyone drives down Summer Street down by the prison, you've noticed there's some new parking lots and stuff being developed down there. Those are all for trails. This stuff is all being stewarded between a tri-town group of the Bridgewaters, and the Bridging the Bridgewater Stewards group is meeting at BSU. Their next meeting is on the 23rd of March from 5 to 6 p.m. in the Science Building, room 285. They do, I guess it's a pretty light meeting. I'll be attending their meeting next month. But for anyone that's interested in outdoor stuff, building trails, getting dirty, it's a good group to join. They're doing a lot of positive work, and they have some great projects online. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lindy?
I'm glad you went the other way around. Thank you.
I had a feeling. I don't know.
Good. I'm sorry to everybody. I am not going to let up on the library. I think it's a huge mistake. I think taxpayers can't use it on Saturday. The statistics are very close, and we are probably in jeopardy of losing certification. I sat on a library board of trustees for 23 years. I would never close my library on a Saturday. I don't think the taxpayers can use it. They're paying for it. I understand the staffing. I think we could find a way to find that money. I think it's a huge mistake, and I'll debate it with anybody that wants to talk to me about it. I think in the long run, it's not going to be good for the town. The certification may be okay for the rest of this fiscal year, because when you get certified, but we're already short hours, okay? You got the town of East Bridgewater that's open 9 to 2. You get the town of West Bridgewater that's open 9 to 2. I would have done what Councilor Reddy stated, is to move the hours around a little bit. I go to that library on Fridays. It's a ghost town on Fridays. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say I don't believe the numbers, but I think they're close enough to have made that decision. Unfortunately, the library trustees meet the same night as we do. I think one of them made an exception to come here. I wish that wasn't the case, because I would go before them and talk to them. I did talk to one library trustee, like I said. It was a very unsatisfactory conversation. I don't like reading about something on Facebook after the decision has already been made, when we were told that those trustees knew about this in advance. I think it shortchanges the community. As far as the water situation goes, I think we're trying, but what happens if Middleborough does not extend it? I don't know what the plan B is for that. I've been told by a member of the select board over there that they're absolutely not going to approve an extension. I don't know Middleborough politics. I know Bridgewater politics. We got to continue to work, and I do want to commend the town manager for his leadership on the raise. But previous leadership took the entire amount that we're talking about for a stipend for themselves. So we have a different town manager that decided he was going to help us and set a good example. Let's just remember that. Some of the folks weren't on the council then, okay? A huge raise was given, and then the person left. So I think that we do a lot of, I got to tell you something. I get hit up all the time for donations for everything. I can't afford them. okay? If I actually got a stipend, it probably would be what I call recycled money. It would go back to the community, okay? We get nothing for expenses. I have to call the town manager's office and say, print me the 102 pages, because printed cartridges cost money. We don't have really even a council budget. It's all for legal ads. There's nothing in that budget for us to use. So the amount of hours that I think the two of you just put in for that thing, I'm sorry if I have to be the only counselor to say that we should get a stipend of some kind. Brockton, which was left out of that presentation, gets $15,000 a year. They're in severe financial distress. They doubled their salary, okay? Maybe it shouldn't be 5,000, but I don't think it should be 0. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. It was now many hours ago, but I'm just thinking back to our Budget and Finance Committee meeting. I want to thank all of the residents who came to that. We did have a number of teachers and parents and children who came to voice their opinions about the school budget and our impending budget process, which will begin at our next regularly scheduled council meeting, which is not until April now. So I wanted to recognize those folks for coming out and recognize our veterans that came and advocated for a tax abatement through the 22J program, which should be before this council here soon, and hopefully we get that approved for them. So I wanted to recognize those groups and recognize the work of this council, and we are all working very, very, very hard for our community. So thank you all for your service. Thank you to our town manager for foregoing his potential raise next year. That's, again, what leadership looks like. So with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Cue the music.